And Madam President, all council members are present.
Okay, thank you. This is Kate Fields, Council President. I'm going to return to order this electronic public meeting, a recessed meeting from Monday, November 9th. I'm not quite sure how much of this I need to read, but it says, the public and media may listen to the meeting online by live stream, and it gives the location. It tells you you can go to the Start Meeting Solution by dialing 617-944-8177. Meeting attendees may also participate in the meeting by calling that number. Persons with disabilities may participate in the meeting by the above-mentioned means or by emailing the request for accommodation to Council Public Comment at City of Flint with the subject line Request for Accommodation, or by contacting the City Clerk at 766-7418 to request accommodation. If there are any questions concerning this notice, please direct them to City Council office at 810-766-7418. So I now currently call this meeting return to order. Excuse me. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mays?
Present.
Mr. Davis?
Present.
Mr. Guerra?
Present.
Ms. Fields?
Present.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
Present.
Mr. Winfrey?
Present.
Ms. Galloway?
Present.
Mr. Griggs?
Present.
Ms. Worthing?
Present.
All 9 present.
Thank you. We are now required to do a member remote announcement. Pursuant to the newly revised Open Meetings Act, each council member shall state that they are attending the meeting remotely and shall state where he or she is physically located, county or city and state. Roll call, please. Oh, wait a moment. Then there's member contact information, but member remote roll call now.
Mr. Mays?
Yeah, I'm attending this electronic Flint City Council meeting from Flint, Michigan. It's located in Genesee County.
Mr. Davis?
Councilman Maurice D. Davis, located in Genesee County in the great U.S. of A. in Flint, Michigan. I'm attending remotely.
Mr. Guerra?
Attending remotely here in my home in Flint, Michigan, Genesee County.
Ms. Fields?
Attending remotely from the city of Flint, state of Michigan.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
I'm attending this meeting remotely in the city of Flint, Michigan, Genesee County.
Mr. Winfrey?
Hi, I'm Herbert Winfrey, and I'm attending this Flint City Council meeting remotely from Flint, Michigan, and Genesee County.
Galloway?
Thank you. This is Councilwoman Galloway attending this meeting remotely from Flint, Michigan, in Genesee County.
Mr. Griggs?
Attending this meeting remotely from Flint, Michigan, and Genesee County.
Ms. Worthing?
I'm attending this meeting remotely in Flint, Michigan, Genesee County.
Okay.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, there is listed member contact information. That's how you can contact any member of City Council. Below that on the agenda is procedures on conducting electronic public meetings. All boards and commissions must adhere to all laws established under the Michigan compiled laws and in accordance with the revisions to the Open Meetings Act adopted in Senate Bill 1108 as passed on October 13th, 2020 and signed into law on October 16th, 2020. Next is the reading of Disorderly Persons City Code subsection. Any person that persists in disrupting this meeting will be in violation of Flint City Code Section 3111, disorderly conduct, assault and battery, and disorderly persons and will be subject to arrest for a misdemeanor. Any person who prevents the peaceful and orderly conduct of any meeting will be given one warning. If they persist in disrupting the meeting, that individual will be subject to arrest. Violators shall be removed from meetings. That brings us to presentation of minutes.
Madam President.
Yes, Mr. Mays?
Madam President, is that where we left off at when we went on recess presentation a minute?
Yes, it is, Mr. Mays.
Okay, I would move that the minutes, as noted on the agenda, it looked like it's 200463, the October 26, 2020 council minutes from that electronic meeting be approved with correction.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from October 26th with corrections. Is there a second?
Madam President?
Mr. Griggs?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Mays?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Guerra?
Yes.
Ms. Fields?
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Griggs?
Yes.
Ms. Worthing?
Yes.
Vote is 9 yes, 0 no.
Vote is 9 yes, 0 no. Motion passes. That brings us to petitions and unofficial communications. Do we have any, Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am, there are 2.
Okay. And then next is communications from mayor and other city officials. Are there any, Madam Clerk?
Madam President, before you leave petitions and unofficial communications, Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Mays?
Yeah, the one petition in unofficial communications 200, it looked like it's 466. Let me get my glasses. 466, it says Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, the epidemic order of October 9th regarding COVID-19. And I did have a flyer attached to my minutes, and it talked about the limits on attendance at residential gatherings, limits on attendance at non-residential venues, indoor and out, capacity limitations, food service establishment, organized sports, and a mandate that face coverings are still required. Now, the reason I want to pause is because, from my view, Councilman Mays, this epidemic is alive and well. I've got friends and acquaintances that gather to do certain things together, and I know out of 13 of them, about 4 or 5 of them, some of them is at Hurley now with this COVID-19. And so I'm asking that when we get to council discussion, I think I don't know if the special order is still there, but it's a law that mandates that the mayor discuss the COVID-19 emergency under our ordinance. And so I don't care how this council vote, but I have a duty and a responsibility to save lives and set policy and establish local law as it relates to the pandemic. I'll end by saying this. I had a resident or 2 call me and asked me the status as it relates to what the city would do. I told them I'll bring it up in council meeting. I'm bringing it up now. I'll see how people play this, but I think this meeting should not adjourn without a serious discussion of policies as it relates to employees and the public during what I'm going to call this uptick of a pandemic. Thank you.
So noted, Mr. Mays. Thank you. Next, we have communications from mayor and other city officials. Do we have any, Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am, there's one.
There's one. I see that's about traffic engineering closure permits. Next on the agenda, we have additional communications. Are there any additional communications?
No, there are none.
Okay, that brings us to appointments. What is the pleasure of this body?
Madam President,
Mr. Mays?
This Robert Kettle, the reappointment to the Downtown Development Authority at Greenwood Lane.
Mr. Mays, there must be a motion on the floor before you can start discussion. Are you making a motion?
I think all you got to do is be quiet and listen. I think
You're out
I
of
know
order,
some of
Mr.
the
Mays.
rules.
That's your first warning. That's your first warning.
I'm going to appeal that.
On the floor. There's an appeal to the ruling of the chair. Is there a second?
I support that.
There's a Ms. Galloway has supported that appeal. It has been clear. We've talked about it. We've actually acted on it. There's precedence. We always have a motion on the floor before we go into appointments, resolutions, and I think a couple other things, but certainly for appointments. So Mr. Mays was out of order by not listening to the chair and just speaking arbitrarily. So I believe he's out of order.
Madam President.
Mr. Mays?
Madam President, if you're going to be a newly elected chair, and if we are all council people and you chairing a meeting, you must give latitude to hear what a person going to say rather than assume they're not going to make a motion to postpone it, to identify it, 200-431, a reappointment. I was reading the 6015 Greenwich Lane as I make my motion. You're being dictatorial. You're being unreasonable. You're not giving latitude. A warning is the step right before removal. I appeal that I was doing anything wrong to deserve a warning at this early stage in the meeting, and I will be voting no on this warning that I appealed.
Any other discussion on the appeal?
Madam
Is that
President.
Ms. Galloway?
It is
Ms. Galloway?
Madam President, I do agree. Usually when we make even make a motion, we read what is in the description. And so he hadn't even begun. It's important for this body to remember that we are meeting remotely. The residents don't know what we're on. So for him to mention what was being voted on, the appointment of, and he began to go into what it was before making a motion, I just don't think that you gave him a fair chance. And so I don't agree that he was out of order. I do believe that he was headed in a direction one way or the other, and I just think that it was premature the way that it was that he was ruled out of order.
Thank you, Ms. Galloway. Is there any other discussion on the appeal?
Yes, Madam
Yeah,
Chair.
Madam Chair.
I hear Mr. Davis and then Ms. Worthing, I believe. Mr. Davis?
Thank you for indulging, Madam Chair. I think you're absolutely correct. From this point on, we're going to stick closer to the rules. Make a motion, then we'll discuss, and then we'll explain thoroughly to the constituents what we're doing. That way we won't waste everybody's time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Ms. Worthing?
Yeah, it was a simple request by the chair to make a motion, and the answer back was, your job is to be quiet. To me, that's an out-of-order statement, and he could have said, okay, yeah, I'll make the motion, and we'll just be on task, but instead it was adversarial right away. It's not the chair that was adversarial. It is the refusal to make a motion. I'd like to stay on track so we can get out of this meeting. before midnight, so I'll be supporting the chair.
Thank you, Ms. Worthing. Is there any other discussion on the appeal? Any other discussion? Well, then I would like to end by saying that I disagree with Ms. Galloway that we have always had a motion, and Mr. Mays was clearly going into discussion. Twice I asked him if he was making a motion. Twice he started discussing without making the motion, and he made a very rude remark to the chair, which is what got him the warning. It was very inappropriate. So if you vote yes, you are agreeing with the chair's ruling, which is that Mr. Mays has received a warning. If you vote no, you're agreeing with Mr. Mays. Roll call, please.
Mr. Davis?
Point of order. Point of order.
Mr. Mays, what is your point of order?
You gotta state the appeal properly. It ain't you agreeing with Mr. Mays, it's you agreeing with the rule that you can state the contents as you make the motion. It ain't Mr. Mays we debating, it's the rule. Quit doing that.
Mr. Mays, I don't appreciate your comment. Quit doing that. That exactly illustrates why I gave you a warning. I will restate it in detail. Janelle, I'm hearing scuffling or something.
Yes, I'm getting it.
Thank you. Okay. If you vote yes, you are agreeing with the ruling of the chair that Mr. Mays was out of order and deserved a warning. If you vote no, you are agreeing with, I guess, Mr. Mays that he has the right to not make a motion and to say rude things to the chair.
Point of order. Point of order.
What is your point of order?
President Fields. Now you're adding more to it. Now you gave him a warning because he was rude to the chair. Come on, Kate, be fair.
I'm going to respond to your comment about being fair if you raise it again during the meeting, but I'm not going to take the time to do it now because this is a simple matter. We're trying to go on with business, not have chaos, but I am going to read something from Robert's Rules. If a point, this is on page...
Point of order. No. Point of order,
I'm reading
Kate.
from Robert's Rules.
Point of order, Kate.
This is relevant, Miss Galloway, to your point of order.
Kate.
This is on page 256. Please cease talking. This is on page 256 of Robert's Rules. It is on the standard descriptive characteristics and appeal. It's 2A. If a point of order is raised while an appeal is pending, there is no appeal from the chair's decision on this point of order, although the correctness of the ruling can be brought up later by a motion covering the case. Shall I read it again?
No, Madam Chair, because I wasn't appealing your ruling, so I'm reading it. I have my Robert's Rules, and I don't know that that's relevant to what I just asked, because I'm not going to appeal your ruling. I'm just asking you to be fair, ma'am.
I believe it was, and I accommodated Mr. Mays by reading this again, and you are just creating chaos by trying to bring up inappropriate points of order. We are now at the point we are going to vote, and I'm going to repeat it one more time. And I don't know if I can always articulate something exactly the way you wish to hear it, but I'm doing it to the best of my understanding, the best that I can do, and I would appreciate some cooperation in trying to understand the priority of this meeting, which is to conduct city business, not to hold it up and obstruct it with very remote points of order that really aren't relevant or appropriate. They're what you call dilatory. So I'm going to say one more time. If you vote yes, you agree with the ruling of the chair that Mr. Mays failed to make a motion when requested twice, said something rude, and received a warning. If you vote no, then you vote against the ruling of the chair and that Mr. Mays was correct in what he did. Roll call, please.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Guerra?
Yes.
Ms. Fields?
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
No.
Mr. Winfrey?
No.
Ms. Galloway?
No.
Mr. Griggs?
Yes.
Ms. Worthing?
Yes.
Mr. Mays?
No.
Vote is 5 yes, 4 no.
5 yes, the chair's ruling stands. Mr. Mays has received one warning. Now I'm going to ask again. We are under appointments. This is appointment number, and I will be very specific. Appointment number 200431, reappointment to the Downtown Development Authority, DDA, Robert Kettle.
Point of order.
What is your point of order, Mr. Mays?
Wouldn't you be out of order reading the same information I did when you said it should be a motion on the floor? And so I would say you should be asking to entertain a motion. So would you get your first warning for doing the same thing?
Mr. Mays, you are once again out of order yourself. You had asked me to read this, and so I read it. That is not out of order. I am trying to accommodate you, although you're making it impossible to accommodate you, because first you want one thing and then you want another thing. It appears I can't do anything to your satisfaction, but I am the chair, and I have the right to read this and then ask for a motion. So, number one, I'd like to say, please tell me the number of the rule you feel has been breached, since you are bringing up a point of order, which is a call for breach of the rule. Could you please tell me what number of rule I breached?
Yeah, it's the same number where you say when we get to this, a motion has to be made, and you can't read the contents of it, and you just violated me for that, and you're doing the same thing. I don't think it exists.
That's not sufficient, Mr. Mays. If you can't state the rule number, then you don't know the rule. You have no business raising a point of order if you can't state the number of the rule that is being breached. So your point is denied. Now, I will entertain a motion on this appointment 200431.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make a motion of 200431, the reappointment of Downtown Development Authority, Robert Kettle, to be reappointed. I'd like to be a motion made. Thank you.
There's been a motion made to approve the reappointment of Robert Kettle. Is there a second?
Madam President,
Mr. Griggs?
I second that motion.
The motion has been seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for indulging. I think this says reappointment of Mr. Kettle. Even though he's a Grand Blanc resident, I find being on boards very interesting. A lot of people like to be proper and have local city residents, but it really don't do nobody entity no good if you're not there. So when you get reappointment, and especially people that's out county, if they have that kind of concern about the city of Flint, I see it very proper to continue to move this city in a direction without all this frustration. You know, you don't have quorum and you can't make this and make that. It's very, very important to keep people on these boards that really be there in a timely fashion without delay. And I wish this body would pick up that same purpose or interest to be concerned enough to not hold up city business with foolishness. Let's keep it moving. But I really would like to see the reappointment of Mr. Kettle to the Downtown Development Board. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any other discussion? Any other discussion?
Yeah, Madam President.
Mr. Mays.
This is the elected First Ward Council person, Eric Mays, who ain't never scared of even illegal removals. My position is this: the charter overrides and dictates what Mr. Davis is talking about. It's not foolishness. It's a charter. And it dictates how many people on a board under this new charter have to live in Flint. This man's address is clearly before this body as Grand Blank. Mr. Davis has not talked about the makeup, through you, Madam President, to Mr. Edwards. Do Mr. Edwards, you know the makeup of Flint residents and Grand Blank and other organizational entities, city and municipalities where people live as it relates to this appointment? Do you know the makeup of the board?
Mr. Edwards, are you on the line?
Madam Chair, I am, indeed.
Okay, thank you. You can respond.
Yes, to Councilman Mays. No, I do not know the makeup of this particular board.
I think Ms. Galloway did, and in light of that, I'm going to make a motion that we postpone this before I have to vote no on Mr. Kettle with the information before us. I move to postpone.
Madam Speaker?
To the next council meeting.
Just one moment. There's a motion on the floor. Okay, there's a motion on the floor made by Mr. Mays to postpone this to the next council meeting. Is there support for that motion?
Madam President, this is Councilwoman Galloway. I will support that
Ms.
motion.
Galloway? The motion has been supported. Is there any discussion?
Madam President, this is Damien Frazier, who's the DDA attorney. I have information on board. Who comprises the board?
Point of order.
Right.
What is your point of order, Mr. Mays?
We're in the middle of discussion and or roll call. Nobody called on anybody that I heard under our rules when we're in this process.
You are correct, Mr. Mays. We are in the middle of discussion. We are not in the middle of roll call. But I will use my discussion time to begin with to allow this gentleman. Could you identify yourself again in order?
Point of order. Point of order.
What's your point of order, Mr. Mays?
As a good chair, you should be asking, is there anybody else to speak on the first round? Then you get to your time, and then you can use it. The chair, from what y'all chastise me for, goes last.
Thank you for your opinion on my ability to chair, Mr. Mays. What is the gentleman's name again? I would like you to speak.
It's Damien Frazier, and I am the DDA legal counsel, and I have information about who's on the board, how long they've been on the board, and what
point of information.
Excuse me, sir. What is your point of information, Mr. Mays?
Can he speak up if you're going to do this out of order? Can he speak up so I can hear him out of order?
I will try. Is this better,
Mr.
Mays?
Frazier, Mr. Frazier, just a moment. Mr. Frazier, could you speak up a bit so all members can hear you?
I will certainly try.
And then please provide the answers that Mr. Mays just asked and then tried to prevent you from answering. Could you please answer those questions?
We have 11 board members on the DDA. Of the 11, 6 live in the city, including the mayor, Mr. Fletcher, Adrian Walker, Brandy Brown, Glenn Kelly, and Inez Brown. We have 4 members who are not in the city. There include Louis Hawkins, Mr. Kettle, Greg Viner, and John Gazelle. And there is one point of discussion. I think that this is a body that pre-exists the current charter, and the charter itself references that multiple member bodies, including boards and commissions established in this charter created after this effective date, shall be subject to the 75% requirement. And I think there's a good reason for that, because the DDA itself is established pursuant to state law that has some other requirements of it inside of it that add to the complexity, so that it would make it sometimes difficult probably to meet both state requirements and a 75% membership from city Flint residents, because in addition to one of the requirements being we have to have one board member at least live in the district, we also have to have property owners within the district, and so it's kind of a multi-moving targets if we have both a 75% city residents only, and then in compliance with state law. Mr. Kettle himself has been on the board in excess of 20 years. His attendance record in the meetings is over 90%. He has been, in fact, back when no one else was doing business downtown Flint, Mr. Kettle had one of 3 operating businesses, and that's how he got appointed to the board to begin with, because he was one of the few downtown business owners who was available.
Excuse me, hold a moment. Janelle, can you mute that person?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Thank you. You can continue, sir.
I can leave it at that, and then I can answer any other questions anybody else has regarding the board and Mr. Kettle.
Madam President.
Okay. Well, I still have the floor, Ms. Galloway. You can go next.
Well, Madam Chair, point of information.
What is your point of information?
So, Madam Chair, normally I thought you were letting him speak, so now you're taking your round before the other council people. I just want to understand.
Well, good. I want you to understand. Yes, no one came to the fore to allow this gentleman to speak and to explain what was going on, so I chose to take my round first. So you are understanding correctly. And when I'm finished, since I still have the floor, then you can have a round. So, sir, if I'm understanding, and Mr. Edwards, you're on the line as well, what I just heard were reasons, compelling reasons, why this person should be allowed on the board. Is that your understanding, Mr. Edwards?
Yes, I concur because it was discussed about state requirements or state specifics for that board, so I would concur.
Okay, and he explained that it's a balance between, number one, having members who actually show up so you can have quorum, meeting those state requirements, and bringing up the fact that this Mr. Kettle, who I don't know, has apparently is a property owner in downtown Flint, so he has a lot of interest in ensuring that our downtown is successful. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Damian Fraser.
Thank you, Mr. Fraser. I'm sorry, I forgot your last name for a moment. Okay, so, Ms. Galloway, you would like a round now?
I would appreciate it.
Please go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you. Attorney Fraser, am I correct in saying your name correct?
Yes, Councilwoman.
So are you saying that there is a state statute that supersedes or overrides the city charter?
Actually, I wouldn't say it overrides. I just said that if this is a already existing board and to superimpose a 75% requirement on this board would add a degree of difficulty to getting members that would be that would also meet the state requirements.
Attorney Frazier, I just want you to answer just a question. I don't mean to be rude or anything, but as legislators, we are required to meet and follow mandates of state statutes, constitutions, city charters. My question to you is, does the state statute that governs the DDA override the charter?
And ma'am, I tried to answer saying that I don't believe there's an override, but I think there's two conditions we have to meet. And I also believe the charter that does not require this board to have 75% of city residents, because it was an existing board before the charter was adopted. And the charter specifically says...
Attorney Frazier, I'm just going to read for you. I'm sure that the votes are there, but I'm going to read for you the section that maybe you weren't aware of. But it's section 6-103, review of existing municipal member bodies. All multiple member bodies, including boards and commissions, which are continued, shall conform to the provision of section 6-101B, except as otherwise provided in the charter or state law. So just so that you know, the charter does in fact talk about existing boards. In addition to, you are right, there is a section that says any boards that are brought on after this shall conform to that. But in addition, they do say existing multiple boards, and they send you to section 6-101B shall be subject to the provisions unless otherwise stated in the charter. And according to the charter in number 5 under B, it says members shall, in the interest of all the citizens of the city of Flint, and except for compelling reasons stated prior to the appointment, shall be residents of the city of Flint. And it says in all cases, at least 3/4 of the members of all multiple member bodies shall be residents of the city of Flint. And so I agree with you that someone that has served for 20 years, but Mr. Frazier, I would, and you're an attorney, I don't know, but I just read to you in the record that there actually is a provision. Were you aware that that provision was in the charter?
Actually, I was aware of the provision. I don't have it with me right now because I am not in my office. And so I can't respond to that specifically. So I appreciate the assistance. But
I mean, originally you said that you spoke to the piece that only those boards that came about after the charter. Yep. I was wondering, were you aware that the charter actually did speak to all multiple member bodies conforming after a year?
I know there's a review. Okay, sorry.
Is someone else speaking?
This is Angela Wheeler. If I may, whenever I get an opportunity, I'd like to
go ahead, Angela.
Well, no, point of order, Madam Chair.
What's your point of order, Ms. Galloway?
Madam Chair, I have the floor. Attorney Wheeler interrupted, and then you inadvertently took the floor from me to give the floor to Ms. Wheeler. That's against the rules, Ms.
Okay, Ms. Galloway. We will ask Ms. Wheeler to wait until you're finished.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
And so, no, I don't have a problem with Attorney Wheeler speaking, but Madam Chair, it's during my time. I don't have a problem saying I'll yield to her, but you literally took.
You've already made that. You're beating a dead horse here, Ms. Galloway. I already conceded your point. You don't have to repeat it. Go ahead.
So you're not going to be fair, Kate, even though the first 5 minutes you repeated everything you said.
Ms. Galloway, please stay pertinent. You have the floor. I've given you the floor twice.
Stop interrupting me, Kate.
Ms. Galloway, I'm trying to give you the floor. I'm trying to give you the floor.
Kate,
well, then,
please stop.
Proceed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Proceed.
So, oh, goodness. You know what? If you didn't have 4 people, President Fields, that would hold you accountable, you wouldn't be behaving this way. I'm going to wrap up by saying this. I believe that I am willing to support his reappointment, but if it is done, I want to know the date, the expiration date, since we have Attorney Frazier on the line. Can you please share the expiration date of the 4 non-Flint residents that are on that board? And then after you give me that information, I will be done with my first round. So, Mr. Frazier, do you have that information?
It would be a 4-year appointment. So from the date of appointment, it would go for 4 years.
No, I know the appointment is. I want to know what is the expiration date on the appointment of all 4 people. I know that this one expired in November 2006. So this person's expiration is 14 years old. And so I just want to know when is the expiration for the other 3.
Councilwoman, I believe the other 3, I believe, is it Ms. Brown who's up? Mr. Viner?
No, non-resident.
Okay, okay, so of those, all 4 of the people who are up have expired, long expired, and this goes back to it started with Mayor Williamson, who attempted to appoint, and City Council rejected appointments. In the DDI bylaws provide that the person who's appointed remains until they're replaced by City Council, and so effectively, other than Mayor Weaver appointed a few members, and in her last year of office. Before that, the City Council and the Mayor could never agree on appointments, and so that's why Mr. Kettle has been on the board, even and not been reappointed, because the City Council and the Mayor can reach agreement on appointments.
Okay, thank you so much, Attorney Frazier. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Galloway. Is there anyone else? Anyone else like to speak? Well, then, I would like to speak.
If I didn't hear nobody speaking on the first round, then I'll wrap up in my second if I'm allowed.
Yes, you may have the floor, Mr. Mays.
Yeah, through you, Madam President, to Ms. Wheeler. Ms. Wheeler, what was you trying to say?
Thank you. I was just going to say that there's a little bit of a nuance with regard to how the DDA works. One, the DDA is an authority, and under 6-101B, when it talks about multiple member bodies and other boards being subject to those items enumerated in B under 1 through 6, that is if it's established in the charter or created after the effective date of this charter. The DDA was not established by the charter. It was established by ordinance. It was established in 2-125 through 2-1131, and also by state law. So it's a little bit of a nuance, and the DDA, as Attorney Frazier has said, has their own rules and bylaws that it goes by. And so I believe that there should be no problem with this one, along with what he has already said, because it's not subject to those terms. It's subject to other terms as stated in their bylaws with regards to interest in property and other items. So I think we should be clear on that.
Let me say this. You know, I never would have thought we would be in the political voting block of the city council that we're in now, even as it relates to leadership. And my first warning in this meeting, my point is this. The spirit of the charter tells us that it's plenty qualified people who live in the great city of Flint with all kind of expertise, and we should draw from our own. That's the spirit. That's really the letter of what it's saying. It ain't just the spirit, it's the letter. And the compelling reasons that Mr. Edwards accepts from you, Mr. Frazier, and anybody else listening, Mr. Edwards ain't a elected voting member of the legislative body. What compels him don't compel me. So the judgment of a compelling reason, ain't that a person, in my opinion, been on there for 20 years? Had we appointed a Flint resident, they'd have been on there for 20 years. And we got to start somewhere. If we appoint one in 2020, they might be on there to 2040. And then in 2041, they could sell another council person that is compelling. But they wouldn't even be caught up in this because they was Flint. So the spirit of the charter tells me Flint people should run Flint. And so I'm not buying into what I'm hearing here. And I don't know Mr. Kettle. I do know Mr. Hawkins through you, Madam President, to the attorney. Are you here to advocate for Mr. Hawkins, and can I hear his compelling reasons as well? Because I got to make decisions who I appoint first, second, third, who live out the city. Can we hear your compelling reasons for Mr. Hawkins now?
Mr. Mays, no, you're out of order. We're not on the appointment of Mr. Hawkins. We're on the appointment of Mr. Kettle. And that's the only discussion that's germane at this point in time.
Madam President, let me say this. If I can appoint 3 people outside the city and it's 4 up, it is relevant for me in a timely manner with no committee meetings to find out what I have to do to make a decision on 1 versus 2 or 3 or 4. So I say you're wrong. You still interrupting me and won't allow me to talk to the speaker?
Mr. Mays, I'm allowing you to talk to the speaker, but the topic to be germane will be about the reappointment of Mr. Kettle, not any other reappointment.
And I can't make my decision on Kettle until I hear the compelling reasons on the other ones. If I can vote for 2 and it's 3, I want to hear all 3 compelling reasons to see which one compels me the most. And so what are you talking about is not germane. It's germane, Tito, it's relevant to me making a decision on something before me. So I'm asking you to allow me under these council rules to speak to the speaker.
Mr. Mays, I've told you 2 times now, and it's no different than if you were on a resolution. You don't discuss the 4th resolution in a row when you're on the 1st resolution. You don't have discussion.
I appeal the ruling of the chair.
There's an appeal to the ruling of the chair. Is there support? Is there support for that appeal?
I support that appeal, Madam Chair. This is Winfrey Carter.
Ms. Winfrey Carter has supported Mr. Mays' appeal. I'll repeat what I just said. Mr. Mays wants to ask the speaker, Mr. Frazier, about members on the board that are set for reappointment following this discussion on this reappointment, 200434, which is regarding the reappointment of Robert Kettle. I've told him that it's not appropriate to start discussing the 2nd appointment while we're still on the 1st appointment. He disagrees. Would anyone else like to discuss this?
Yeah, Madam President.
Mr. Mays?
Common sense dictates that if I can place 2, 3, or 4 people on a board, or I can only place 2 out of 4, I want to compare them. We're not having committee meetings. I got 5 minutes to do my work. I want to vote for Mr. Hawkins, and I don't know Mr. Kettle. Don't got nothing against him. Don't know who the other two is. I've got the right to find out what compels this imbalance before I vote on one, before I vote on the other. You the one, and y'all voted not to have committee meetings. Don't interrupt how I do my work and my thought decision-making process, because it'll be...
Mr. Mays, you're out of order. I would like you to watch your language, please.
Ms. Fields, I don't know about this council, but I know you out of order. You be interrupting us when we got the floor. It's frivolous. It's premature. It's irrational.
Mr. Mays, you are removed from the meeting for derogatory remarks to the chair.
I appeal the ruling of the chair.
Yeah, this is Councilwoman Galloway. I support that appeal.
You've already got an appeal on the floor.
I will once again read. If a point of order is raised while an appeal is pending, there is no appeal from the chair's decision on this point of order. There is no appeal on decision from the chair's decision on this point of order.
Point of information.
Please mute Mr. Mays.
But wait a minute.
Please mute Mr. Mays.
Madam President?
Ms. Galloway?
We are in an appeal. And you know what? Tell me what derogatory thing Councilman Mays said. And you know what? I want to say to you, I want to say to the council persons that support you, Kate, I don't have a problem with how you want to run your meeting, but you have been unfair in this. And the unfortunate thing is Councilman Mays didn't say anything derogatory. He didn't say anything negative about you. He simply talked about the fact of how he wanted to do his work. He didn't call you any names. He didn't say anything derogatory. He didn't say nothing in a cuss word. He didn't say anything. And what you've done before everybody that's paying attention is you have shown that you are willing to be unfair. He was in his appeal. He had only 5 minutes, President Fields, and you refused to let him do that. He didn't say anything wrong. And I want Janelle to go back to the record. And so I'm asking you a question. What derogatory statement and or word did he say that caused you to say that he was out of order?
Ms. Galloway, I'm not going to respond to you. I don't remember.
And you know why? No,
Ms. Galloway, Ms. Galloway.
You said you weren't going to respond.
Ms. Galloway.
You stop talking, Kate.
Ms. Galloway, you stop talking. Ms. Galloway, that's your first warning.
I appealed the decision of the chair.
And there's a appeal on the floor against the decision of the chair to give Ms. Galloway a warning for argumentative discourse. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I second that appeal. This is
Ms. Winfrey Carter.
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter has seconded Ms. Galloway's appeal. Is there any discussion?
Ms. Fields,
Madam Chair.
President Fields, this is Monica Galloway.
Ms. Galloway, and then, excuse me, who was the second voice?
Councilman Davis.
Ms. Galloway, and then Councilman Davis, and someone has a dog that's barking. Could you mute that?
That's me. It's Eva. I wanted the floor.
President Fields.
Okay, Ms. Galloway, Mr. Davis, and then Ms. Worthing.
Thank you.
Ms. Galloway?
I asked a question with my time. I asked you a question saying, will you tell me what Councilman Mays said or did that you deemed was derogatory with my time? You responded, Ms. Galloway, I'm not going to respond to you. And I said, okay. and then I was taking my floor back because since you weren't going to answer my question, that didn't give you the right to take the floor from me. And so when I said, okay, Ms. Fields, I'm sure you're not, and I continued to proceed, you decided that you became combative with me on my time with the floor, Ms. Fields. And so once you refused to answer my question, that brought the floor back to me. And so I was continuing. And so it is fine that you've decided that you've got the force of the council behind you. But in this situation, with Councilman Mays, and now with your decision to give me a warning when you, in fact, were being combative and argumentative, Ms. Fields, you're just not being fair. And the reason why I believe that you are not willing to answer is because, like you said, you don't even remember. You don't remember, but you made a decision to remove the first ward's voice on a statement that you don't even remember, but it was enough in your memory to cause you to remove him, but not give him the benefit of the doubt. And so I won't be supporting your decision to give me a warning because you were argumentative before I was.
Are you finished, Ms. Galloway?
Yes, ma'am, I am. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, it's very unfortunate with all this argumentative tone. We got a disruptive discourse going on, and it's making for a non-pleasant environment. This is very unprofessional. And, Madam Chair, you're doing the best you can under the circumstance. I'm going to give you the credit for that. But we're used to doing meetings, you know, in an unpleasant environment. And I'm in agreement. It does say something, and it's relative. When these meetings going and they're very disruptive, the argumentative tones as we're in an argument, it should not be in a professional city business environment. We're on record being something that we should not be, and we need to strive to correct it. And I'm thinking you're doing a wonderful job, but I'll tell you like this. We need to all change our opinion, how we talk to grown folks, especially department heads that are not a part of this legislative body, and consider people feelings as we would want somebody to consider ours. And I thank you for indulging, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Ms. Worthing?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with others saying the chair is being unfair. Ms. Galloway, as chair, kicked out Mays countless times. Was she fair doing that? I remember a meeting when he was kicked out within 5-10 minutes by Ms. Galloway. It's really interesting that she's his biggest supporter, given that she would cry herself given the abuse by Mr. Mays. And this is what the chair is trying to do, is to prevent any meeting from getting to the point where someone is so upset, they're crying, calling the cops, screaming. I'm ready for professional meetings, and I think we all should be. Why support someone that you thought was an abuser now? I'm not understanding it. I would like to continue with this meeting. I fully support the chair. It was negative from the beginning. Let's get this back on track. Thank you.
Madam Chair, any other discussion? Mr. Guerrera, you have the floor.
Yes, ma'am. I do like to say, I see how you're trying to minimize the arguments going back and forth. However, in this situation, I do think that Ms. Galloway was just taking the floor back from the original statement. I don't think that she was, I get you don't have to answer her question. However, I don't think she was trying to do anything extra. However, so Ms. Galloway, I'm going to agree with you on your appeal, but I do want to tell you that I don't appreciate the constant, you have 4 Ms. Fields, you have 4, you have the council, you can do whatever you want. Those comments are saying that I've already decided how I'm going to vote, is the way you're implying, which I haven't, because every situation is different. So even in this situation where I'm siding with you, you don't even know that, but you constantly are saying that Ms. Fields has the vote to do whatever she wants. So, I mean, I just want to let you someone to be open-minded to that. Every situation is different, at least for me. And I mean, there's been times where I voted with everybody on this council and voted against probably everybody as well, because it's all situational based on what's right, at least how I see it being right. So just want to advise you for maybe here to the future, maybe not imply that you know how I'm going to vote until I vote. But this time I will be supporting Ms. Galloway's appeal. Thanks.
Is there any other discussion on the appeal?
Madam Chair, this is Winfrey Carter.
Ms. Winfrey Carter, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. You know, I just want to say, Kate, I think you should change your tone. The tone is very condescending, and I think you should just take a breath and listen to what's going on. Galloway, she is
Hello? Yeah, I have made a mistake.
I'm sorry, Ms. Winfrey Carter. Proceed.
Okay. Councilwoman Galloway had just said, well, you know, she was just going to move on to finish taking her floor back, to finish discussing what she needed to discuss. So I think you just need to just take a step back, just listen, and don't be so quick to give people warnings or put people out. We really need to start, all of us, we need to take a look at ourselves. And we need to start behaving in a professional manner. And let's be the leaders that we were elected to be. And as a leader, you should be able to look at everyone. You should be able to treat everyone fairly. It has to be a fair process. And guys, I'm just really getting so frustrated with this. Let's all just say today that we're going to start behaving professionally, and let's start respecting each other. It's all about respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Winfrey Carter. I believe the only person we haven't heard from is Mr. Griggs. Did you care to weigh in, Mr. Griggs?
I'm just getting really tired of this rambling without making much sense. Let's get to a vote, please. Thank you.
Okay. Well, then now I'm going to speak. I'm going to finish.
Point of information.
Ms. Galloway, what is your point of information?
We didn't hear from Mr. Winfrey. You mentioned Mr. Griggs. I didn't know
I
if you
beg your
forgot.
pardon. Yes, Mr. Winfrey?
I'm good.
He's good. Okay, I'm going to continue. I'm going to say Ms. Galloway had asked me a question. I was trying to answer it, and I was answering it honestly. I didn't remember the exact language that Mr. Mays used, but it was derogatory language showing me I didn't know how to chair, and I will ask Janelle. Normally they don't take minute-by-minute dictation notes, but first I will ask Janelle, do you recall exactly what Mr. Mays said?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
Point of
Okay.
information.
What is your point of information, Ms. Galloway?
President Fields, are you aware that you said to me, Ms. Galloway, I'm not going to answer you? And that's when I proceeded to continue talking?
Ms. Galloway, I did not say that. You think you heard that. I did not say that. I do remember that. I was trying to start to discuss it, and then all of a sudden you started talking again and got argumentative with me. That's why I gave you the warning. You interrupted me as I was trying to explain this, to talk to you about it. And I will tell you, in terms of the tone and the condescension, you know, I'm going to mention right now that I at no time would address you as Monica. You continually address me as Kate, not even Madam Chair, much less Madam President. And I think that shows a lack of disrespect on your part. And I think you're intentionally trying to disrespect me. You keep saying, no matter what we talk about, you keep saying, oh, you're not being fair. Is that fair? And usually when I'm trying to deal with disruptive behavior, and
point of order.
Oh God, point of order.
Ms. Galloway, I've read it several times. There is no point of order during an appeal, but if you want to say what rule is being breached, what number, please feel free to do so as you interrupt me.
You're not being germane. That's my point of order. You are the main one saying you have gone all around the corner, and so you're not being germane right now.
Well, your point is denied because I am being germane, and you are doing everything you can to keep me from speaking. And I think if we're going to be fair, we are going to allow one another to speak. I've let you speak at all points in time. I recognize all your privileged motions, and I've tried to cope with the meeting. You know, a little shred of kindness. You know, it's been 8 months since I've chaired anything, and it is complex, especially when you can't always hear someone. You have people calling points of order on tops of points of order in the middle of appeals, and you haven't even settled one appeal, and then they're calling another point of order. You know, sometimes it's difficult to keep track of all this. And I don't see one shred of kindness on your part. I see combative dialogue from you. And I want to talk about the one because you keep saying it. Are you being fair? Are you being fair? Ms. Winfrey Carter says, are you being fair? Well, Ms. Galloway, I think Ms. Worthing had a good point. Were you being fair when you, as chair, repeatedly removed Mr. Mays from meetings because of his disruptive behavior? Were you being fair when you voted to censure Mr. Mays and keep him out of council meetings for a month due to his disruptive and bad behavior? Were you being fair? What's your point of order, Ms. Galloway?
Can we call for the vote? Those are old meetings, and they're not relevant to now. That's what my point of order is.
Well, your point of order is denied. We're not calling for the vote because I have the right to respond in this appeal. And you consistently throughout this meeting, no matter what is going on or how I try to chair it, keep saying, oh, are you being fair? You're not being fair. Okay, I'm trying my darndest to be as fair as I possibly can in this very hostile environment that you are a part of bringing to this meeting. You seem more interested in trying to obstruct the progression rather than addressing what we have on our agenda. And one of the reasons I had support as president was because I vowed to try to keep us on task. I can't hear, I can't tell if somebody's trying to get the floor or whatever. But I'm going to finish by saying I did try to answer you. You then interrupted me. You did not allow me to answer you. And then you started arguing. So you were being argumentative. And that's why I gave you a warning. Because you wouldn't stop talking when I asked you to, and you continued to be argumentative. So that's why my ruling was that you were given one warning. So now I'm going to call, if you vote yes, you are agreeing with the chair that Ms. Galloway needed a warning because she was being argumentative. If you vote no, you're agreeing with Ms. Galloway. Or I really don't even know what Ms. Galloway's point was, but if you vote yes, you're agreeing with the chair. If you vote no, you're agreeing with Ms. Galloway. Roll call, please.
Mr. Guerra,
No.
Ms. Fields,
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter,
No.
Mr. Winfrey,
No.
Ms. Galloway,
No.
Mr. Griggs,
Yes.
Ms. Worthing,
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Vote is 4-4. 4 yes, 4 no.
Okay, at this point in time, I'm going to read another rule out of Robert's Rules of Order. It's under appeals, and it's regarding the vote. It says, a majority or a tie vote sustains the decision of the chair on the principle that the chair's decision stands until reversed by a majority. You can find that on page 258, number 7. And I'll read it one more time. A majority or a tied vote sustains the decision of the chair. So the vote was 4-4, so the chair's decision is sustained. And Ms. Galloway, you have your first warning. Please try not to be argumentative. Now, I think we have a motion on the floor, and the motion was to postpone. I had an opportunity to speak again, and I think some other council people had an opportunity to speak again. Would anybody like to speak for the second time on the motion to postpone the reappointment of Mr. Kettle?
Madam Chair.
Is that Mr.
Madam
Davis?
Chair.
Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Davis.
Madam Chair, I would like not for us to postpone, so I'll be voting no for the postponement because I'm frustrated with not getting city business done week after week, week after week. We got to change the paradigm, put this car in drive. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Worthing?
I'm in agreement with Mr. Davis. This has been postponed quite a bit, and I think we know whether we're going to vote this up or down at this point, so I'll be voting no to postpone.
Thank you. Anyone else? And I'd like to take my second turn. I'll also be voting no to postpone because if you'll recall, number one, the city attorney read to us and explained that the DDA was not created under the charter under multiple member body boards. It was created under some other state authority. So the requirement that 3/4 have to be city residents does not pertain. But two, you are allowed to have more non-city residents on this board if there's a compelling reason to have them on there. And I heard compelling reasons. I heard that Mr. Kettle has faithfully served for 20 years. He has a 90% attendance rate, which most of the DDA board can't boast of. And so, and he also is a long-term property owner and business owner in the city of Flint. So I think he would bring a lot to the DDA board in terms of his interest and concern for the Downtown Development Authority and the downtown of the city of Flint. So now I guess we're at roll call. Roll call, Madam Clerk, on the postponement. Shall we postpone this appointment? No.
Ms. Winfrey Carter,
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey,
No.
Ms. Galloway,
No.
Mr. Griggs,
No.
Ms. Worthing,
No.
Mr. Davis,
No.
Mr. Guerra.
No.
1 yes and 7 no.
So the motion to postpone fails. Did we, Janelle, have a motion on the floor to approve prior to the motion to postpone?
Yes, ma'am.
We did.
It was made by Mr. Davis and seconded by Mr. Mr. Griggs.
Okay, and can you remind me, did we have full discussion? Or I don't believe we did, actually. I believe Mr. Nate. Excuse me? Janelle?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, someone did.
Madam President, I was asking for the floor.
Oh, Ms. Galloway, you have the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. And so I won't be supporting the motion, and I do just want to say on the record that I appreciated Attorney Frazier coming tonight. I do have a little bit of concern that the attorney for the DDA didn't share the same, in my opinion, interpretation as Attorney Wheeler, but that's okay. And so I appreciate Mr. Kettle, and I thank him for serving on the DDA for the City of Flint.
Thank you, Ms. Galloway. Anyone else like to speak?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Davis, you have the floor.
Thank you for indulging. Well, I look forward to appointing Mr. Kettle back and serving the city well as he's been doing, as well as being a very adamant businessman in this community, because DDA does a wonderful job. I just wish the other parts of the city would have some organized like DDA, and we all will be happy. But I look forward to saying yes, and thank you, Mr. Kettle, for y'all doing a wonderful job as DDA, making Flint outstanding the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Anyone else like to speak? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
Excuse me. This is the vote to approve the reappointment of Robert Kettle to the DDA.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
No.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
No.
Mr. Griggs?
Yes.
Ms. Worthing?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Guerra?
Yes.
Ms. Fields?
Yes.
Vote is 6 yes, 2 no.
The vote is 6 yes, 2 no. We have now approved the reappointment of Mr. Kettle to the DDA. Congratulations, Mr. Kettle. I don't know if you're on the line, but congratulations. That now brings us to the second appointment, 200432, the reappointment to the DDA of Lewis Hawkins. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Mr. Davis? Mr. Davis?
I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Downtown Development Authority, Mr. Lewis Hawkins, back to the DDA.
Is there a second?
Madam President.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
It's Griggs.
Mr. Griggs?
But I will yield to Griggs.
Okay, it's hard to hear you, Mr. Winfrey. Okay, Mr. Griggs, would you like to second that motion?
Yes.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Madam President, Mr. Hawkins is on the line.
Oh, wonderful. Mr. Hawkins, would you like to say anything?
If there are any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them. I got one question the first time that I was listening. My name came up, and the question was, did I attend the last DDA board meeting? And I was kind of shocked when I got that question. And I thought, gee, I must have been out of town or something. So my answer was, I may have been at a wedding or something in Alabama, if you all remember that. Well, the very next day I checked, and I was at that meeting, as I've been at 90% of all of the other DDA meetings, and the attorney will be able to back me up on that. So I wanted to correct what I said before, that I must have been out of town. That would be the only reason I could think of for not being there. But when I read the minutes, I actually moved to approve the minutes of that meeting that I thought I had missed. So I had not missed that meeting.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that clarification. Mr. Frazier, it's not appropriate at the moment. We have Mr. Hawkins on the line. Do any council members wish to ask Mr. Hawkins a question? No? Well, Mr. Frazier, what is it you wanted to say?
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Hawkins has been on the DDA board for close to 30 years. His attendance record is far above 90%. He brings experience, both city, county level of government, and a wealth of knowledge about history of Flint, interactions with downtown Flint, and he has probably been, one of the most active participants in the DDA in the 30 years I've been involved with DDA.
Thank you, Mr. Frazier. Well, I would just like to say, Mr. Hawkins, I think they're lucky to have you. I think they're lucky that you're willing to serve on this board because you bring a wealth of experience and knowledge, and thank you for being willing to serve on the board. Okay, if no one has any further questions of Mr. Hawkins.
Madam Chair?
Ms. Winfrey Carter? Yes.
And I don't think this is a question to Mr. Hawkins, but you know what? I'm sitting here. I am trying to, I need the breakdown again of the board as far as Flint residents and out-county, not out-county, but other residents who do not live in the city of Flint. Because I'm just really trying to figure out something. And I did hear what Attorney Willard said, that this board is totally different from the boards that's listed in our charter as multiple member bodies. But I'm just, you guys know how I feel about our boards and making sure that our boards have Flint residents on them. We have so many people here in this city that can serve on these boards. And I'm just really, really feeling strong about that. And it's nothing against, Mr. Hawkins or Mr. Kettle. But that's how I feel. I just really think we need to reach out to the people, the residents of the city of Flint. And really, too, to be on a board for 30 years, 20 years, I think we need to have some fresh ideas on some of these boards. And nothing against you, Mr. Hawkins. You know I love you. And Mr. Kettle. I don't know Mr. Kettle. But that's how I'm feeling about our boards. So I wanted to find out, what is the breakdown again of the Flint residents and non-Flint residents?
Would you like Mr. Frazier to respond?
Yes, whoever can answer.
Information.
Excuse me, what is your point of information, Mr. Griggs?
I was just going to ask Ms. Carter if she realizes that this breakdown of residents was given to us about 45 minutes to an hour ago by that other attorney. I can't remember his name, the first attorney that spoke. Anyhow, that's all I wanted to make sure she was aware of that.
Mr. Griggs. Yes, he probably did give the breakdown, but I'm asking to hear it again. Thank you.
Mr. Frazier, would you like to respond?
Sure.
No.
So we have 7 of the 11 board members are City of Flint residents. The only 4 members who are not city residents are Mr. Hawkins, Mr. Kettle, Greg Viner, and John Gazelle.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you through, Ms. Carter, Winter Carter?
Okay, so the other two non-Flint residents, when is their term up? And can someone give me that information?
Mr. Frazier, can you answer that question?
I can. The other, all four of these, their terms have expired previously, and in previous mayors have not submitted their names for votes or anybody's names for approval to the board. So they've had expired terms for some time.
Okay. I just want to make sure we have. I go by the charter, and I just want to make sure we have a good mix of people on the board. That's all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, Ms. Winter Carter. Anyone else have any questions or care to speak?
Well, Madam Chair.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I stated to Mr. Kettle, Mr. Hawkins, let me tell you something. Y'all doing a wonderful job down at DDA. And a lot of people, I don't know if they understand, a lot of people move away from Flint that was born in Flint. I served on many boards, but the biggest issue I had when I was serving on boards was making a quorum and attendance. When you find someone with their high before, and it's clear, you can see what DDA is doing for the city. I applaud y'all so much, and I really commend the effort and work y'all do, Mr. Hawkins. And please continue to serve in that type of capacity. Thank you for indulging, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. If no one else would like to speak, I do have one final thing to these people who are being appointed and reappointed to the DDA board. I think we might be revisiting in the future once we are all back at regular meetings after COVID, which will come someday. I'd like to revisit the parking meters because that wasn't working really well when we were all meeting meetings there. Anyway, at this point in time, let's do roll call on the reappointment to the DDA of Lewis Hawkins. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Griggs?
Yes.
Ms. Worthing?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Guerra?
Yes.
Ms. Fields?
Yes.
Ms. Winter Carter?
No.
Vote is 7 yes, 1 no.
Vote is 7 yes, 1 no. Mr. Hawkins has been reappointed to the DDA board. Congratulations, Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you very much. I'm going right now to the Burston Fieldhouse board where they're waiting on me to make a governance committee report as chair of a governance committee. I live in Grand Blanc, but I do everything I do in the city of Flint. Everything. My mother lived here in Grand Blanc, and I moved here to be with her while she was dying. But I'm still a Flintite. Thank you.
I don't give a fuck. You don't live in fucking Flint.
Janelle, point of order.
Someone came on the line before I could stop them. They're muted now.
Well, I'm going to hang up now and try to get to my report with Burston Fieldhouse. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. That brings us to appointment 200456, the appointment to the Human Relations Commission of Jamaica Patrick Singleton from Ward 5. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Ms. Winfrey Carter.
I would like to make the motion that we appoint Jamaica Patrick Singleton to the Human Relations Commission to serve as the 5th Ward representative.
Madam Chair, Santino here.
Yes, Mr. Guerra?
I'd like to second her motion.
The motion's been made and seconded to appoint Jamaica Patrick Singleton. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
I just wanted to say that I think Jamaica Patrick Singleton would make would be a good asset to the Human Relations Commission. I think she would serve that board well. I think she would serve the 5th Ward well as the 5th Ward representative. So I'm asking for support from my colleagues. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else like to speak?
Madam Chair?
Mr. Davis?
I think Ms. Patrick will be an asset to any kind of work she does. She does an excellent job, and she's a very kind-hearted person, so I know she'll be well with human relations. But, you know, we got a lot of good residents here, and that's what I was saying. Some live in the city, some live outside, but Ms. Patrick happened to live in the city, and she does an excellent job, and she's perfect for that position. And thank you for indulging. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Davis. Anyone else care to speak? Anyone else? Is Ms. Patrick Singleton on the line?
I believe she is.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
All right. This is Councilwoman Fields. I would like to ask you a couple of questions, if I may. You are a former City of Flint employee, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. What position did you hold with the city?
I was the Chief Recovery Officer.
What exactly did that job consist of?
The Chief Recovery Officer position.
Yeah.
I worked for long-term recovery from the Flint water crisis.
Okay. Was there a plan conceived or written for the recovery?
Well, at the time that I had exited my position, we were in the process of writing the recovery plan. That plan, to my knowledge, there was about a year's worth of data that had been collected, and we were in the process of writing it, but unfortunately at the time of my departure, that plan had not been completed.
Okay, so you'd only collected data, but no actual draft report was compiled?
The plan wasn't completed at the time that I left my position.
Okay, that's too bad because I would have liked to read that. I believe that position was funded through federal recast dollars. They refer to it. Is that correct? No?
No, it was not.
It was just a regular budgeted position?
No, it was funded through the Skillman Foundation.
Oh, so it was a grant, but it was a different source. Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to have to inquire because I am interested in whether we currently have a recovery plan and whether were you able to give all the data you had collected to the incoming administration?
Point of information. Point of information.
What is your point of information?
President Fields, is that relevant to her appointment?
It is to me. I'm just asking her a question because I'm interested in the recovery plan. And
So
since
point of
this
order.
is the...
Point of order, President Fields.
What is your point of order? What is your point of order, Ms. Galloway?
So, President Fields, you said that when we're discussing something, we need to remain focused and germane on what's in front of us. So my point of order is the recovery plan and what she did before is not relevant to this appointment. So I am saying that your line of questioning is not germane to the motion that's on the floor.
Well, Ms. Galloway, I think that someone's previous experience, whether it's work history or board service or whatever, is relevant. And I was just curious about the recovery plan, so I was taking the opportunity to find out where I could get information on that. But since you object to that, I'll stop my questioning. Is there anyone else that would like to ask Ms. Singleton, Patrick Singleton, some questions?
Madam President?
Hearing, is that Mr. Griggs?
Yes. Is her resume here? No, I think we have to have resumes on these people. I'm not finding it yet. I must not be finding it. 200-456. Please wait a second while I look at her resume.
Janelle, was there a resume attached?
I believe there was. I could check.
It's in there.
Yes, there is.
There's a resume there, Mr. Griggs.
Shut up, Kate!
That is totally out of order. Who is that, Janelle?
Like I was telling Miss Galloway, sometimes they get on the line faster than we can mute them. I apologize for that.
Yes,
please make sure that person is muted. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Griggs, did you have any other statements or questions?
Well, I still haven't located the resume yet because I know my appointment got grilled pretty heavily. So I just wanted to check the resume. If you could just bear with me while I try to find it. 200-456.
Sure, we'll give you a moment.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Griggs has the floor. Could you wait a moment, please?
Oh, yeah.
Madam Chair, I can yield to Ms. Galloway while I'm looking.
No.
Okay.
Madam Chair, nope. Nope, I'll wait for Mr. Griggs. I'm good.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Griggs has the floor. We're going to wait until Mr. Griggs finds his document. Just a moment. Have you found it, Mr. Griggs?
No, I yield the floor to Mr. Davis.
Okay, Mr. Davis.
Madam Chair, I wait after Councilwoman Galloway.
I beg your pardon?
Councilwoman Galloway asked for the floor before me.
President Fields.
Just a moment. Just a moment. Ms. Galloway said she did not want to accept Mr. Griggs yielding to her. So you can go, and then we can come back to Ms. Galloway.
Okay. Well, this is what I would like to say. To this point, we haven't had relevance of a resume for the other appointments. And Ms. Patrick, qualification for the Human Resource Commission, I don't know the actual resume requirements, but I will say this. I know she served in the capacity for the city of Flint under the leadership of Mayor Weaver, and she did an excellent job. And I don't see no delay of Ms. Patrick's, taking as the appointment as a Human Relations Commissioner. And I would, in a timely manner, hope that we can hurry up and pass this and get to the rest of our city business. But to be out of all fairness, all night long, the issue of resume hadn't came up as a subject matter. Thank you for indulging, Madam Chair.
Welcome. Ms. Galloway, did you want the floor again?
No, I think Councilman Davis did a great job.
Okay. Councilman, excuse me.
Mr. Gregg, do you want the floor again?
I found the resume, plus you might inform Mr. Davis that resumes were with the other two previous appointments, one for Ward 8 and one for Ward 7. We still need more people appointed to fill it up to 9. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griggs. Does anyone else want to talk to Ms. Patrick Singleton or wish to speak? Hearing none, roll call. On the appointment to the Human Relations Commission of Jamaica Patrick Singleton from Ward 5.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Griggs? Mr. Griggs? Ms. Worthing?
Abstain. Thanks.
Ms. Worthing?
I will also be abstaining.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Guerra?
Yes.
Ms. Fields?
I'm going to abstain because I really wanted some more answers about the work that Ms. Patrick Singleton had done in her employment with the city, and I wasn't able to get all the information I wanted, so I'm abstaining.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
5 yes, 3 abstentions.
The vote was 5 yes, 3 abstentions. Ms. Jamaica Patrick Singleton has been appointed to the Human Relations Commission. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Madam Clerk, that brings us on the agenda to licenses. Do we have any licenses?
No, we don't.
We do not. That brings us to resolutions. Is there a motion for the master resolution?
Madam President, this is Councilwoman Galloway.
Ms. Galloway?
I make a motion that we approve the master resolution.
Santino, I
There's
would
been
like
a motion. There's been a motion made to approve the master resolution and properly supported. Is there any discussion, or is there any separations or discussion?
Madam President, this is Councilwoman Galloway.
Ms. Galloway?
I would like to separate 200458. And that'll be all for me. Thank you.
Are there any other separations?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Davis?
I'd like to separate 200468.
200468. Okay. Any other separations? Hearing none, is there any discussion on the motion?
I have, Madam President.
Ms. Galloway?
I have a question. If someone could explain 200460 interlocal agreement, Genesee County designated assessor.
Mr. Edwards, is there someone on the line that can answer questions on that resolution?
I believe Ms. Cake is on the line.
Yes, that is the person.
Ms. Galloway, you have the floor.
I'm sorry, who is on the line?
Mr. Edwards?
Stacy, yes, Stacy Kate.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Stacy, how are
the
you?
city assessor.
Who are you, Madam Chair?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well, ma'am. Can you explain what this is?
Okay, what this is, back in 2018, the state put forth some assessment reform, and this is part of it. Every county has to have a designated assessor assigned to them, And what it's for is for the AMARs. They put the AMARs basically in the law so they have a little more teeth than what they used to. So once the jurisdiction goes through that, the first AMAR, if they fail, they have to submit their plan, correctional action plan. If they go back in and fail that again and don't follow through, they have the option of either having the state come in, hiring a new assessor, or bringing in the designated assessor to basically fix the jurisdiction. So every county has to have one assigned to them.
Stacy, I'm sorry. Is AMAR is that an acronym, or does that?
Yeah.
Like
that's
okay.
the assessment that the minimum requirements we have to have for assessors. That's the audit we do every year or every 5 years.
And so this requires council approval. Can you tell me why it requires the council approval?
It actually has to go before every jurisdiction in Genesee County for approval, since I will be the designated assessor for the whole county.
So because you're going, and does that affect your work for the city? Will it take you away from some of your responsibilities? How does that work?
It doesn't affect my work for the city of Flint. It could possibly take me away from some duties, but that would be on my personal time and not on city time.
Thank you. And you know I support you, Stacy. I appreciate you being on the line tonight. And then, so I'm Madam Chair, can I continue with the little bit of time that I have left to ask another question?
Certainly.
Thank you so much. The question that I had was for the 200459. Is there someone that can speak to that grant, please?
Mr. Edwards?
Is Suzanne on the line?
No, ma'am. Yes, Madam Chair. Suzanne Wilcox should be on the line, and she can help.
Thank you, Suzanne. Can you just give us an overview? Can you just give me a quick overview of 200459, ma'am? I appreciate you.
Sure. This is the second year of the grant that we've applied for to the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation to assist in parks maintenance. It is funding that is transferred to the Genesee County Parks Commission to take care of 13 parks in the city of Flint as part of the Parks Partnership Agreement that was adopted. So last year, Council approved a resolution to accept the same grant from CS Mott for $321,000. This year, we received the budget from Genesee County Parks. It's $336,000, and this grant is essentially a pass-through to pay for those services.
And Suzanne, is this to make up for the deficit that that the county was having to do cuts for?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I'm all done. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Would anyone else care to speak?
Hello?
Well, then who's on the line?
Shut up.
Janelle?
Oh, goodness.
Janelle?
I apologize for that again.
We're going to have to talk about a way to screen these calls better, because that's totally unacceptable. Totally. But I'll have that discussion outside of the meeting with you, okay?
Okay.
And I know that you definitely don't want this to happen either, so that's not a criticism. Okay, I would just like to say regarding the Charles Stewart Mott grant to help take care of our parks, I'm really happy to see this. I want to applaud Ms. Wilcox for her department making application for these grants, because it really makes a difference in the city, and I certainly want to thank the Mott Foundation for awarding this grant. They help us with so many things that make such a difference in the city of Flint, and I really want to express my gratitude to both of you for this. I also just want to ask a question about 200462, the use of community development block grant funds for street improvements on ML King Avenue. Suzanne, are you on the line? Miss Wilcox, I'm sorry. Could you please explain that one a little bit?
Sure. That's part of our neighborhood planning initiative. And so, as you're familiar, we work with several neighborhood associations in various wards in North Flint to identify projects that those residents wish to see take place in their ward. And so this is a particular project on Martin Luther King that has been in development for a while with the MLK Plus group. And so this will pay for streetscape improvements and other improvements along that MLK corridor. And it's part of the coordination between neighborhood planning and community and economic development. We've tried to fund implementation projects as part of that neighborhood planning initiative. So this has been a long time in the works, and it's finally coming to fruition, and the residents along that corridor are extremely happy about this, and this is a project that they've advanced and we've been able to fund, and so it's finally moving forward.
Well, I think this is really wonderful. Having been part of the process for the East Side neighborhood planning, I know that it requires a lot of determination and commitment on the part of the residents to go through the process, and I really applaud them for going through the process because it's pretty thorough, and I think it's going to be a really nice addition to that part of the city. So thank you, Ms. Wilcox.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the master resolution? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Gregg?
Yes.
Ms. Worthing?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Guerra?
Yes.
Ms. Fields?
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Vote is 8 yes, 0 no.
Vote is 8 yes, 0 no. The master resolution is approved. That brings us to our first separation made by Ms. Galloway, 200458. Ms. Galloway?
Thank you, ma'am. Well, so, Madam Chair, Madam President Fields, I have some questions. I'm not going to make a motion to approve this without understanding it. So I don't necessarily, I want to make sure that I'm not out of order. So I am placing it before you to see how I should properly handle since I separated it.
Well, Ms. Galloway, the rule is a motion must be on the floor before we can discuss it. So I will ask the body, is there a motion on the floor regarding Resolution 200458?
Madam Chair,
Madam
Santino here.
Mr. Guerra?
Make a motion to approve.
There's been a motion to approve. Is there a support for that motion?
Madam President?
Madam Chair?
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes, I support the motion.
Motion has been supported. We're now into discussion. Ms. Galloway, would you like to go first?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate that. Is there someone that can explain how we came to the decision to reimburse for this from June 2018? If I can go through you, Madam President, so whoever can speak to it.
Certainly. Mr. Edwards?
Yes,
Who
yes,
can
I
speak?
am.
Are you the appropriate person? Can you speak to this?
Well, Madam Chair, this was in fact an item that we did address as a part of a closed session. So I'm gonna defer to the city attorney, Attorney Wheeler, to respond to any questions about this item.
Well, this is the closed session item.
Hello?
Yes. whatever we can talk about on the record, I'd like for it to share. Attorney Wheeler.
Yes, ma'am. Yep. As Councilman Galloway asked, the city administrator said, Mr. Edwards, this was something that was discussed in a closed session. The part that we can tell you openly is that this portion of the funds to be paid are funds that were not a part of the bid specification. It's an additional cost in the amount of $1,169,686 that were incurred. We received approval from Eagle to provide the reimbursement for these funds. So these will be funds that will be a pass-through, and that the city will get reimbursed with and will not be sucked up the cost of these additional fees.
So this is, so for the record, that is acceptable. This is part of a settlement fund or part of a settlement, and this is the proper way to handle this portion of it. And it's simply a pass-through. The city of Flint is not going to incur any expenses. And it is, so is that safe to say on the record?
It's reimbursable, yes.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. That's all I need. Thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Ms. Worthing?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Guerra?
Yes.
Ms. Fields?
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Griggs?
So,
Yes.
Kate Fields.
The vote is 8 yes, 0 no.
The vote is 8 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. That brings us to separation 200468. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Davis?
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 200468.
Is there support for that motion?
Well, I want to explain for the public record. I forgot we were on electronic meeting.
Certainly.
Setting a public hearing / alley vacation.
On 1415, 1419 North Stewart Highway, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there support for that motion?
Madam President,
Mr. Griggs?
I support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there discussion? Mr. Davis?
Yes, Madam Chair, just very quick and simple, whoever can answer it. I know it's say a 15-foot alleyway. The location of the alley is where about off of Dort Highway or on Dort Highway? The vacation.
Is there anyone in the administration that can answer Mr. Davis's question?
Madam Chair, this is...
I'm here.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead, Clyde.
I'm just saying, Madam Chair, that Suzanne will be able to answer his question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Wilcox?
And I'm trying to look for my map right now to see where the starting point is. It ends at Missouri Street. It's on Dort Highway, and I forget. I'm sorry, I just had a blank, and I'm forgetting the. Pardon me. Missouri is the end point, and I am forgetting the starting point. It's 15 feet that ends at Missouri Street, and I'm looking for my map and not finding it right now. But I can get you the map and the information, and that's typically part of the packet that comes to you. This is the resolution to set the public hearing only. And then typically we have the developer come to the meeting where the public hearing is held and provide more details on it. And so we're asking in this meeting only to set the public hearing, and all the other information is usually provided in the resolution to actually asking for your approval of it. So I will get you that information tomorrow, and we will have the developer at the actual public hearing to speak more about the specific project.
Well, this is my question, Suzanne. Is it a public space going private or private going public when you vacation it?
A
The
street
purpose of
vacation
vacation.
it's a public space that is vacating and becoming private. So it becomes owned under the private entity.
Okay, that's my question right there. Thank you. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Ms. Winfrey Carter.
Yes. I have a question for Suzanne. So who is the private owner?
The owner is actually, it was submitted by, it's through Walgreens. Walgreens is building a new drive-through pharmacy, and in order to construct that, they have to vacate that 15-foot alleyway, and then there's some dirt that needs to be removed, and that's under the scope of their project, but it's for the new drive-through Walgreens.
Okay.
Any others? Then, Ms. Wilcox, I would like to ask you a question. This is actually in the 4th Ward, and as I understand it, what's happening is that the Walgreens that is on the corner of Davison and Dort Highway is going to build a new facility that will only be a drive-through pharmacy. Or I don't know if you can also walk in, but it's only going to be for pharmacy products. Now, we certainly can't stop a company or a business from making their downsizing decisions, but as someone who uses that Walgreens almost daily for many things, to buy milk, etc., as well as get prescriptions, I'm going to really miss that property, and that business. I have already spoken with Mr. Chalfani Stevens about some ideas to try to bring some other entity, either a nonprofit or another business, to that area, and I hope he assured me we should start working on that now, because I think it'll take at least a year for them to construct a new facility and close down the other business. So, it's better to have some business there than none at all, so I will be certainly supporting the public hearing, but I will have additional questions when the developer comes.
I completely understand that, and those were, I'm sorry, and I was just going to say, I understand that, and I understand that, and those were some of the comments that were raised at the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting where this was heard. Several commissioners had the same concern, and so I think that those are appropriate for the developer. This doesn't address the economic development issue, it just addresses the street vacation portion.
Right. Well, Port East Side's really getting hit too, because the Rite Aid closed, and now you have to go, that was in the 4th Ward. Now you have to go just outside the city limits to hit the Rite Aid. So, these are not good omens for the city, but I guess we have to do the best with what we can do and try to be creative. So, if there's no more discussion, we'll have roll call, Madam Clerk. This is to set the public hearing for the vacation of that alley.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Guerra?
Yes.
Ms. Fields?
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Griggs?
Yes.
Ms. Worthing?
Yes.
Vote is 8 yes, 0 no.
8 yes, 0 no. The resolution passes. That now brings us to special orders. The first special order is 200467, the special order Blight discussion as requested by Council President Monica Galloway, Council Member Monica Galloway, to discuss Blight with Deputy Chief of Staff Derval Murdoch. Ms. Galloway, I'm not sure how you want to handle that since he's no longer in that position, but would you like to take it from here? Would you like the floor?
I appreciate it. Thank you,
Madam President, this is Janelle.
Janelle?
Lindsay Crawford from Blight is on the line.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Madam President, I would like to, I'll go maybe a little bit into this, but, and I'll see if my colleagues want to do it. But pursuant to Section 3-208, regular departmental reports, it says upon City Council request, the mayor shall require department heads to appear before and report to City Council on a quarterly basis. And so maybe if we can put, and I know that Suzanne, through you to Suzanne Wilcox. Are you there, Suzanne?
I am.
I know that you are the department head over Blight. Is that correct?
That is not correct, no.
Okay, who is?
Blight is actually handled through the mayor's office. It's an office, it's a division separate outside of planning and development, and I would defer to Clyde to answer that question.
Before you do that, can I ask you a quick question? Suzanne, did it used to be under you?
It did, yes.
Okay. And the reason why I wanted to say that is because there came a point early on where I was asking you some questions about Blight, and you shared that Mr. Murdoch was now over the Blight department. And so I didn't need anything else but to make sure that the record reflected that at one point it was under you. And so with that being said, I will now, if you don't mind, through the Madam Chair, President Fields, through you to Mr. Edwards. Are you there, Mr. Edwards?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So who would be now considered the department head over the Blight department?
No one would be considered a department head. That, as it has been instructed, it's considered the Office of Blight Management. So you have a coordinator, you have somebody in charge of that aspect, but we don't call department heads have to be approved by you guys. So it's not a department.
No, I don't mean that. At one point, because and Clyde, just help us understand, because we're learning something. I'm learning something new. I'm not going to speak for my colleagues, but in the past, the Blight department was under the organizational chart of Suzanne Wilcox. Is that correct?
But it would have been that is correct, but it still was not a department. That's been the debate that we had.
I'm not trying to no. See, Clyde, you're going somewhere that I'm not. I'm not trying to establish it as a department. I'm trying to identify Section 3-208 of the Charter that says the mayor shall require department heads to appear to discuss their departments, the progress and performance of their departments. And so I'm trying to establish, if I have a question about that area, now that it's not under the department head Suzanne Wilcox, who is the department head?
The person that is handling that aspect, the leadership, if you will, of that particular.
Madam President, we got there is more disruption through the phone lines than we've ever had. And I don't know how we can handle that, but you had someone that did profanity. And so what can we do for the integrity of the call?
Ms. Galloway, I hope you heard me earlier when I made note of that to Janelle and said that we need to work on that once the meeting is concluded. I agree with you. Okay, I'm not sure what we can do about it. I think she's doing the best she can at the moment. But I agree, it's difficult, and it does make it hard to hear. I would also ask that you and Mr. Edwards be careful to not step on each other's sentences. Sometimes it's hard to hear because you're both talking at the same time. So,
and I do a better job at that, Madam President. I just don't want Mr. Edwards to try and take my dialogue somewhere that it's not. And so I don't know how to do that without maybe asking him to answer my question, because so thank you for that. Clyde, I'm just trying to understand, because if Mr. Murdoch, who we were told was over Blight, in order to stay in line with the charter, I would have normally been able to go to Suzanne Wilcox. I'm not talking about who's running the department. I'm talking specifically in guidelines with the charter that speaks about council having access to department heads. And so my question is, now that that's been taken in from under her umbrella, I know that Lindsay is there, and I appreciate that, but my question is, now that it's been removed from that umbrella, what departmental head structure is that under now for me to be able to know how I proceed with the charter of asking for department heads to appear before me so that I can ask questions about this?
Ms. Galloway, would you allow me to try to clarify this?
Clarify what I'm asking?
I'm sorry?
Are you saying you want to be able to clarify what I'm asking?
To Mr. Edwards.
No.
I want you to get the answer to your question, but I think there's a little bit of miscommunicating. I think he's not understanding what you're asking him, and if you would allow me to interject.
Well, no. Well, President
briefly,
Fields, I appreciate that. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, if Mr. Edwards has said this is within the office of the mayor, I believe the city administrator is the department head of the office of the mayor. Is that correct?
Are you leading him to answer a question?
I'm trying to get you the answer to your question, Ms. Galloway.
But it sounds like President Fields.
I think it's a fair question, but I think he's not understanding what you're asking him.
No, I think you're leading him, and so the reality is he was taken, and that's fine. If he is the department head, then this is my request that I'm making on the record. Section 3-208, regular departmental, as the department head, according to, and you haven't said anything, Clive, but according to Ms. Fields' understanding, that if in fact this position was taken from under Suzanne's purview, I am asking that you would be prepared. I'm asking now for a quarterly update and progress on the performance. That includes, and Mr. Clive Edwards, because I can drop this. I've sent multiple areas within my ward that need concern, and I want to thank you because you consistently send back a response of received. And so what I'd like to do is have you come before me. I'm sure to benefit my colleagues, come before us and specifically talk about the progress being made on those specific areas. Are you there, Mr. Edwards?
Yes, I am. I'm here and I'm listening and I'm fully understanding, and I did understand what you asked before. I'm gonna ask Madam President, Madam Chair, if I can proceed?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because Councilwoman Galloway is, with all due respect, Councilwoman Galloway, you're going to the charter, and I fully respect the charter. I fully respect the charter and what you're saying. What I would say to you, though, is I would examine the duration of this. You guys appointed me a year ago and to present before council. There's nothing in the charter that really clearly delineates the fact that we're at every meeting. You have department heads at every meeting. You are able to ask department heads questions, no problem. Everybody is here freely and working long hours. And as I said, if you look at your council minute records, I have 100% attendance, and those who have come with me. And we've not failed on any case. But here we're talking about a technicality about a reporting. And we're always here to answer your questions. I'm not sure where you're going with this, but if we're going to stick to the letter of the charter, then we don't need to be here. We don't need to come to every meeting to answer questions if all you need is quarterly reports. We can fulfill that requirement, but we can present our material by way of your agenda, and all of our staff don't need to be here. The whole point of this is to help you make decisions and provide you with information. So I find it redundant. If we're going to have to do quarterly reports, then I don't feel that it's necessary for us to be at every meeting.
Madam Chair, may I continue?
Yes, Ms. Galloway.
So, Mr. Edwards, I don't know why you felt the need to say all of that. I'm not telling you how to handle your staff. I don't know if it's a threat to say we either abide by the letter of the charter or we don't do. That's not where I'm going. I'm simply saying that I am requesting this provision for this situation, which is quarterly. And so if you're saying that this supersedes the administration under your leadership, having department heads here to answer questions for us, to make well-informed decisions, I won't stop you. I am requesting at either the next meeting or the first meeting in December for an update for this, Mr. Edwards. I'm not speaking about anything else. And then my next one will be for finances. And so if we need to rewrite the charter for you to feel like it's more grafted into what you're saying, I appreciate your staff being here. I do. And this is not to minimize any of those things. And so since Lindsay is on the line, does Lindsay have a copy of the list of things that my ward, the 7th ward, has sent to you since June, that maybe she can give an update via email? I'm not going to tie up her time tonight, but via email to share what our updates are, Mr. Edwards?
I am absolutely 100% sure she can prepare something that provides you with some information about your particular ward.
Thank you, sir. And then my last question for you, Mr. Edwards. Are you aware of the request from the Ethics and Accountability Board requesting Mr. Murdoch's presence to talk with them?
I am not. That's a negative.
Okay.
I am not.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you, President Fields. I am all set.
Thank you.
Okay. Would anyone else like to speak on this topic?
Yes, Madam Chair.
And then
Mr. Winfrey? And then Ms. Winfrey Carter.
This Councilman Davis.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Davis? And then
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Clyde, I'd like to say this. I'd like to thank you so much, you and your whole entire staff and management, the administration of the city of Flint, for being at these timely meetings that's really, they're not, let me rephrase that, not untimely meetings. That's what I'm trying to say. After working hard, long hours every day, y'all here and pay for me. And to answer the question, y'all need to do something, Janelle, with them phones. Because this is very disrespectful with these pranks or whatever they're trying to play while we're trying to handle city business on record. It's not cute. It's not funny. That's why we're not getting nowhere now. And I'm not beating you up, Janelle, because I know this here is plotted. But anyway, Mr. Edwards, I don't take your time lightly. I hate wasting time. I don't care about wasting money, but I hate wasting time. Y'all been here all day. It ain't like if you was to have a timely monthly meeting or update every quarter, it ain't like we're going to get something done because we so disrespectful amongst ourselves, just along amongst the administration. So I'm saying that to say this. I really appreciate being able to get answers from Ms. Wilcox and every month, all of y'all that y'all bring before us. And y'all do that week after week after week. And people seem to think, you just getting out of bed, rolling in here at 5:30. Y'all done worked all day. Thank you so much, as well as Mayor Neely, because it's easy for us to diss out disrespect, but it's hard for us to diss out compliments where it's due. And it's long overdue for you. I don't take what y'all doing lightly. And it's time for this body, like now I'm noticing how this meeting is starting to move a little bit. And I'm not pointing fingers at nobody, but I want to say this. We really need to consider a lot of things when the administration go over and above, because I've seen this play out in Mayor's Weaver administration, blatant disrespect, and now all of a sudden in this administration, even Mr. Benzick, it's not right. It's not. You don't talk to department heads any kind of way, and y'all got people up under y'all. But I will say this, and I'm wrapping up, Ms. Fields, and I thank you for indulging. The way you got to earn respect, I got to give it. And it's how you ask what you... Mr. Clyde, y'all don't mind giving us information whenever we ask. You do the best you can. And I just think it's long overdue for me to say this. And I done seen it done, even with the mayor. Y'all try y'all best. If Mr. Murdoch changed departments, whatever he done, that's between y'all and y'all administration. We run ours, y'all run y'all's. But we got to get to the place where we start getting the city business done in a timely manner with respect. And once again, I thank you for all the input and information y'all provide each and every meeting. Like you said, Mr. Edwards, you've been here 100%. And thank you so much. Thank you for indulging, Madam Chair.
Welcome, Mr. Davis. And I'm sorry, who was next? Winfrey Carter.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Is Lindsay still on the line?
Yes, ma'am.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Lindsay, I want to talk about Blight. This is the Blight discussion, right? Lindsay,
yes.
I'm going to make sure that you have on your radar White Street, Newell Street, and Green Street.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as cleanup.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Yes. I was over there the other day, and this illegal dumping. We got to get on top of this illegal dumping. I don't know what we can do about it. I know one of the residents that live on White Street, she says she's going to get a camera, and hopefully she says she should be able to, see these cars or trucks or whoever is coming right there in her area dumping. And then right there on the next street on Newell, the same thing is happening. And it's in the middle of the street. I mean, they're dumping now in the middle of the street. They're not even going up on the curb or driving up on into the lawn to dump. They're just dumping right there in the middle of the street. So I would ask for the Blight Department to please get over there on White Street, right there, Newell and Green Street. Also, what is the status of Jean Street?
So they finished up with the second dumpster over there today. So that one will be removed. Yep, and I have the other ones, white, Newell, and green, are on the list for cleanup as well.
Okay. And I know that on Saturday, last Saturday, there was a group of individuals that I guess stay right there in that immediate area of Jean Street. They did a cleanup, and I just want to say publicly, I want to thank that group who did the cleanup over there on Jean Street. I just really want to thank you guys for doing that. I don't know, did you guys go out and help with that, Lindsay?
Yeah, so I had spoken with Mr. Baldwin ahead of time, and we coordinated efforts with the field staff, Mario specifically, and with Republican providing the dumpsters. So it was a wonderful team effort, and I appreciate everybody's hard work.
Okay. Now I have one more thing to put on your radar. I was over at Kersley Park the other day, and I've gotten complaints about the graffiti on the pavilion walls there. And it's not, and I'll get over there and paint it myself. It's not that much. We just need to prime and paint over the letters that were painted on the pavilion and paint it white, because the color of the pavilion is white. But did you guys get that complaint also?
Yes, ma'am, and I'll have to look into it, but my understanding was that there was, I can't remember if it was Parks or there was another entity that was taking care of it, was my understanding, but I will look into it and get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you. If not,
thank you.
I'll get a group of people, we can get some primer and some white paint and go over there and paint it. It's not that much, but, I do understand the complaints from the residents that live right there across from Kersley Park. So, all right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm done.
Madam Chair? Hello? Did Kate drop? Did President Fields drop?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was on mute and I hadn't realized it. Did anyone else want to speak? Because I do have something I want to say.
Can I ask Lindsay one more question, President Fields?
Certainly.
Lindsay, through you, Madam President, to Lindsay. Lindsay, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I want to tell you, first of all, thank you for the years of commitment, Lindsay. I don't get to really talk to you. I have a question. There consistently seems to be blight that happens around the 12th Street area. It used to be that recycle place. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
The recycle center? Okay. So at one time, it was blocked off. It was like cement blocked off. And then I don't know what happened that we opened up the cement. And so I was wondering, is there the possibility to look at that area and see if it can be cemented off? Because now that there's no businesses there, it's really an unused amount of street other than dumping now. And as soon as something gets cleaned up, it's redumped again. And so I was just hoping that maybe you could look at that to see what it would take to block that street off so that it wouldn't be visited again. Is that something that could be looked at?
Sure. I'd have to discuss, obviously, with, Department of Public Works and et cetera, but that's definitely some questions that I can ask them, and, it's something we can discuss.
Okay, and Clive, are you still there?
I am indeed.
Is it okay if I follow up with Lindsay on that?
Oh, absolutely, no problem.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you, Madam President.
Yes, Ms. Galloway, you're welcome.
Madam
This one's
President,
Ricardo. Yes.
may I add a comment in here?
You have
I think that's a good idea. You know what? I really do think that's a good idea because I was thinking about Newell, that block from Mason to Iroquois. I think with the block where the illegal dumping is being held there, I think that would be a good idea to block off those blocks. How can we get that done? Because, you know, at nighttime there are no street lights, and I think that's what's happening over there on Jean Street too. Because of the street lights, the cars, the trucks are driving around. They're trying to find dark spots to dump at. And I think if we could block off these streets, we can probably alleviate the problem of the illegal dumping. It might help.
This one, Carter, is that a referral? Would you like a referral to the administration about the methodology to ask to have streets blocked off?
Yes.
That referral is made without objection.
Thank you. I think that would
You're welcome.
be a good idea.
Madam Chair?
Okay,
I'm done.
Thank you. Who's speaking?
Madam Chair, this is Clyde Edwards speaking.
Clyde. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question for through you to Councilperson Galloway. The report or quarterly report you're looking for, I want to be clear about what is the time period we're talking about. Is that July, August, and September, that quarter?
That would, you can do it as in any way you want. I just want to cover those things specifically for me, Clyde, that I've sent to you. And so, yeah. I mean, because we're in the pandemic, I realize that.
I want to make sure we recorded, as we do with all council people, we have recorded every single referral that was made, and we subsequently move them on to the appropriate departments. The reason I'm asking you about a time period is because the amount of numbers, the numbers are overwhelming. So I think I sent a Blight report up to every council person, and in that it showed their particular ward. So I can start right there and say the number, that's from January to the present, the numbers are overwhelming. As in terms of being able to get you specifics, I can certainly give you the specifics on any given particular address that you need it on. But when you're talking about a report, well, I'm going to give you a collective of what has taken place in terms of what you have referred and what has been resolved and what is still left to be resolved. That's how the report will read.
Well, it also includes, Clive, if I may, Madam President, it also includes the budget, where you guys are in your budget. Have you guys hired anybody? How has that been working? So if you look at that section, it's about giving an update on the department and how it's doing, financially hiring, those things. Because I've had multiple people that have been asking, supposedly we were supposed to be hiring more people. And so it includes all of that. We can get offline and talk about that, though, if you want to.
No, I mean...
Mr. Edwards,
yeah.
I want to move this on. We spent quite a bit of time on it, but I've been waiting for the floor to point out that what Ms. Can you hear me? Just one moment. What Ms. Galloway is referring to is in the charter, section 3208, regular departmental report. And it says, upon City Council's request, the mayor shall require department heads to appear before and report to City Council on a quarterly basis on activities within their departments, progress on departmental budgets, progress on performance goals set in departmental budgets, and to answer questions from City Council. Now, we all know that everyone down there in any position has an overload of work. But council is also tasked with making sure we're in charter compliance. And I myself was going to make a list. In fact, I have been working on a list of all the various things that are supposed to happen within this charter that goes to council or council back out in the public. And it's not very specific about what constitutes a report or how this report should be set up. So this is a discussion that perhaps, Ms. Galloway, since you're especially interested in it, we can have offline or just with you and I and Mr. Edwards to further discuss this about some format that would meet your requirements, meet all the council requirements. If that's satisfactory to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes, that is totally fine.
Okay, fine. And now I'd like to move on to Mr. Griggs. Would you like the floor?
Yes.
You have the floor, Mr. Griggs.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you please instruct some of the council people to deal with and resolve their ward problems with the appropriate department and not during our council meetings, please? It's becoming a waste of time. They can easily get hold of these different department people and resolve their particular ward problems. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Ms. Worthing?
I'd like to make a motion to indefinitely postpone Special Order 200394.
There's been a motion made to postpone indefinitely 200394. Is there support for that motion? This is the special order status 1702 Kenwood.
I suppose I'll support. I think it ought to be taken off, but I guess I'll support.
To postpone indefinitely means to take it off permanently.
I definitely second that motion.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
Madam President, Councilwoman Galloway.
Ms. Galloway?
Thank you. For those of you that have a concern with 1702 Kenwood, I know that you guys are listening because you told me that you would. I won't be supporting permanently postponing this, which means never. I am concerned that we didn't even say that we were officially off of 200467. But so all of the 8th Ward residents that have been calling us and are out there, just so you know, this will never come up before the council based on this motion that has been made. It will never appear on the council if my colleagues vote yes to approve this. And so I will not be supporting this. I will stand with you regardless of whether you win or lose. Thank you, Madam President.
Madam President?
Would anyone else like the floor?
Yes,
Madam President?
Ms. Worthing, and then Mr. Griggs, I heard. Ms. Worthing?
Yeah, this is an issue that should not be on our agenda every single meeting. Special orders are not meant to stay on the agenda. We have discussed this at length. In the last meeting, Ms. Wilcox made it very clear that, or I don't think it was Ms. Wilcox, I think it was I forgot who was speaking, but they made it very clear that there's nothing we can do based on state law. And I feel that this is a way to really just make other council members look bad when there's nothing that this council can do about this request. They are more than welcome to work behind the scenes, but this is not anything we need to discuss in a city-wide, special order. I have constituents that have needs, and I wouldn't support just talking about one home in my ward if everything was being done is legal and it's by the law. There's been nothing that councils can do or could do, and any of that really needs to just be done behind the scenes outside of a council meeting. So I'll be supporting to drop this. Again, we have really talked about this quite a long time, and it's inappropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Worthing. Mr. Griggs?
Yeah, like I said at the last meeting and when this came up, the permits have all been taken care of. I don't know what else Ms. Galloway and all 5 of the Ward 8 people that are concerned can come up with next.
Point of order,
No,
Madam
there's
President.
5 out of 7.
Wait a moment, Mr. Griggs. Ms. Galloway, what is your point of order?
This has nothing to do with me. He is sinking me into something, Madam Chair. Come on now.
Oh, no, I wasn't.
Wait a moment, Mr. Griggs. Mr. Griggs. Mr. Griggs, I have not ruled on this point of order. Everyone stop talking.
Point
But
of
the
order.
chair.
He should be, you didn't give him a warning at all, President Fields.
Ms. Galloway, I'm trying to address your point of order. You need to have a little bit of patience and be kind of respectful here. I'm trying to address it, but I can't do it when I have multiple voices yelling at me. Now, I've asked Mr. Griggs, he needs to understand that when a point of order is called, if someone is saying there's a breach of the rules, everyone has to stop talking except the chair, and I have to find out what the member is saying, which rule number has been breached, so I can read that rule and determine a ruling. So, Mr. Griggs, you will get an opportunity again. Janelle, I want you to take note of these phone numbers that are breaking in like that. Not only do I want you to, of course, mute them, but we're going to discuss what to do about these multiple calls and the people who are making them and the phone numbers they're calling from.
Okay.
So, Ms. Galloway, your point of order. What rule is being breached? Could you give me the number?
The same rule is being breached, President Fields, of attacking. So you tell me where that is. He attacked me instead of making his statement. Councilwoman Galloway and all these others. Come on now. He's attacking me. I didn't say anything.
Well, Ms. Galloway, I didn't hear an attack. Okay, I heard him use your name, but I didn't hear him attack you or do any name calling. I heard him reference you. But, hopefully Councilman Griggs can say what he needs to say without skirting that issue. So your point is denied. I'd like to continue. Mr. Griggs, what were you saying? You have to speak up a bit, too, because I'm having difficulty hearing you.
Okay. I said the permits have all been resolved, and there's only and Ms. Galloway did make the statement that all the 8 ward constituents were calling her about the problem at 1702 Kenwood, which is a assisted living home. It's not a group home. It's an assisted living home that's approved in that part of our neighborhood I think they're like Zone A2. They like to call themselves Zone A1, but they're not because their lot sizes are not bigger than 10,000 square feet. So this problem has been resolved, and if these constituents, all 5 of them out of my 7,000 or so constituents, if they want to continue with this, all they got to do is start going to the planning commission. And matter of fact, they're probably going to have to go to the state because it starts with state regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griggs. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you for indulging, Madam Chair. The reason I would support this postponement indefinitely is simply this. I don't think it's sufficient or right for a council person as first ward or any other ward to step over into the 8th ward and control their ward. That's something the ward person should deal with, and we vote appropriately with or without, up or down. But nobody have the right, because I call that bullying, because Mr. Griggs, he have a recall because of whatever going on when you're not in satisfactory standing, as well as I have several recalls. But this ward bullying should stop and cease immediately. Mr. Griggs, he seemed to me they resolving it out, and if they don't, it'll come to council, and if it's something that council could deal with, we'll vote it up or down as a body. But nowhere in the world should I come and have jurisdiction over Mr. Griggs' ward. That's not fair to him or nobody else. And it's certainly not fair, and we need to stop this here and practice immediately of council people controlling other people's ward in a dictating manner. And you don't know what? Thank you, Madam Chair, and you're doing an excellent job tonight. Thank you for indulging.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Would anyone else like to speak on the motion?
Madam President.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Winfrey, and then Ms. Winfrey Carter.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with my colleague about a council person dipping into the business of another council person unless their aim is to help. I've had council people on this council to dip in my business in the 6th ward. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, well, I do have a problem with it, but I haven't said anything to them because I believe it will come to nothing. But historically, we have allowed the maker of these, well, not motions, but certainly the person who put this on the agenda, we have allowed them to take it off. And if we want it off, we should go to the person who put it on there and ask them, respectfully request that they take it off. I don't think we should just start this practice of, I'm tired of seeing it on there and I'm just going to take it off. That's being disrespectful, in my opinion, in itself. Let the person who put it on there take it off. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Winfrey. Ms. Winfrey Carter.
And I think Councilman Winfrey kind of summed it up for me. That's it. I agree with Councilman Winfrey, and I will not be voting to postpone. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
All right, before we go to the second round, Ms. Worthing, I would like my first round. Okay, I want to say, first of all, this is a special order. There is no action on a special order. A special order is not a motion. It's just a topic like a discussion item that we go into more in depth. Ms. Brown told me long ago that we were setting a bad precedent, that special orders are meant to be on one agenda once. That's what a special order is. And this particular special order has been on our agenda 5 times with no specific action taken. There are concerns raised. They've been addressed. As Mr. Griggs said, there is nothing that City Council can do about this assisted living facility. It was an attorney, Angela Wheeler, I'm not sure which attorney, but there was an attorney that came on that stated they are legally allowed to do this assisted living home where they're doing it by state statute. So First of all, I'm going to ask Ms. Wheeler to come in and tell us, can you remember which of your attorneys spoke to this issue? Ms. Wheeler?
Actually, yeah, I had, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you.
I had Attorney Kelly Thompson on the line, and we talked about the guidelines around having that type of facility in there. I think more of the discussion came from planning and development for the most part. But yeah, like I said, we have to go by what the state law says, and that's going to be our parameter that we would be controlled by. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shut up, Kelly.
Thank you. Now,
I'm still hearing people blurting out. I'm sorry, but I just have to mention that I'm still hearing people blurting out.
We all are. It's beyond rude. It's just totally unacceptable, not allowed, and I had planned on getting with you to see legally what we can do about blocking these phone numbers that do that. So I will get with you after the meeting. But I would like to say that Mr. Griggs, once again, is right. If you have an issue, I guess you can go to the Planning Commission. But apparently, the permit issue...
Madam President.
Can you permanently block that number, Janelle?
Madam President, this is Davina.
Yes?
What's
Davina?
happening right now is the callers are coming in anonymously, so we can't tell who it is. They're calling, and they're saying stuff and hanging right up before we can even mute them. But we'll take care of it next meeting, and the calls will come in muted to begin with. But what people are doing is on purpose, and we can't tell who it is because it's showing restricted, and they're saying stuff as soon as they come in, knowing that we can't mute them right away. So that's why this is happening right now. We're doing it as fast as we can, but the callers, there's at least one that I can see who it is, but most of them are restricted. And they're calling,
okay, well,
they're hanging right up.
Make note of that one number, please, because we're going to address that, but I think that's an excellent idea that they're muted when they call in and they're only unmuted when it's appropriate for public speaking. Thank you. Okay, so I just want to finish up here. I believe we need to postpone this indefinitely because we've given it a fair hearing. And this is one area of the city, one small group of people in an area of the city that I believe they've had a very fair hearing. I mean, I don't think we've had a special order on 5 times that had no point or purpose other than to discuss the issue. I think it's been discussed to death, and I will be supporting the motion to postpone indefinitely. And it does not mean that at some point in time, maybe a resolution regarding this will come before us, or maybe the Planning Commission will do something in the future regarding this issue. But at the moment, there is no actionable item before us under a special order, and this one is done and dusted, in my opinion. So now, the second round. Ms. Worthing, you wanted to say something?
And then Councilwoman Gallo, please.
Yes. Just to talk about the point that Mr. Winfrey and Winfrey Carter made, we've never had a special order, though, to address, say, something that 6th Ward residents are unhappy with and then talk about it 5 meetings in a row. I think Mr. Winfrey would have a problem with that. He wants to take care of things on his own. And I think that would be bullying. I sure don't want to sit there and talk about how we have to do this in a meeting and, Mr. Winfrey can't do his job and the residents are calling me instead. I mean, that is something we could do, but I think it's unprofessional and not necessary. So besides the point that Ms. Fields made and Mr. Griggs has made, think about it if it was in your shoes. Would you want us to start putting on special orders for every single person? If we get a call from someone else, my council person isn't helping me, will you do this? I just think it's not right. And again, it's not an actionable item. It's been discussed, and after a certain point, it is harassment. Thank you.
President Fields? President Fields, are you muted?
I'm sorry, Ms. Galloway, I'm sorry. Yes, I was muted. You asked for the floor. Proceed.
Thank you. So through you to Suzanne Wilcox, if I can ask a quick question.
Yes, Ms. Wilcox. Ms. Wilcox, are you there?
I am. I'm here. I'm sorry. I was muted in 2 places.
Thank you.
We haven't muted you because you were yelling, were you? Just a little joke, little levity.
So,
Proceed.
Suzanne, can I ask you a question? So, the concerns, and since this is never going to come up before us again, some of the concerns that the constituents had was in reference to properly pulling permits and things. Have you guys to this date been able to go in to verify or show that those concerns about changes had actually been done so far?
They have not been able to actually get in the house. They were working on that, and Ms. Sorensen was compliant with that, but then she had an illness in her family, and so just out of deference to her dealing with some health issues, we've been waiting on, the opportunity to get in the house. She did pull permit, but no, they have not yet been in the house. They are working on that, and we expect that to happen very soon.
When you say she did pull permits, so now there is permits? I thought there wasn't permits.
Point of information.
They did. She did pull
Just a moment. What is your point of information, Mr. Griggs?
Does Ms. Galloway remember that our last council meeting, I gave the permit number? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griggs.
Suzanne, back to what we were talking about, because originally there was some changes that had been done that needed to be verified. So now, because I just want since it's never going to come up again, I want the constituents to know. So all permits were properly pulled, Suzanne. Is that what you're saying?
For the interior renovations, she did come and pull permits for interior renovations, acknowledging that some interior renovations have been made. And so after the fact, the recourse is to pull the permit, and then our inspectors have to go in and identify what, if any, work was done. If they see work that was done outside of that they haven't been able to inspect, there may be work that needs to be redone. So that interior process has not happened. They have not been able to get in the house yet for the reasons that I stated before, but yes, permits have been pulled for interior renovations.
So even though there were, and I just want to ask you this, so let's just say I did some interior renovating, and I didn't pull permits, and nobody knew, and then finally someone found out, I can go down to the city and pull permits after the fact, and it doesn't, and it makes everything legal and permittable. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, the work has to be verified and inspected and made sure that it's up to code, and so that's part of the inspection process. But yes, if it's after the fact, then the recourse is there was a violation notice issued. The resident has to come to building and safety inspections, pull those permits to make it right. Then they get an opportunity to go and inspect the house, and if there are things that were done that they can't see because work was covered up or it wasn't, I mean physically covered up, like, if there was drywall placed over electrical or something like that, and I'm speaking hypothetically, then it has to be remediated, and so it may need to be redone because because they were never given that opportunity to actually look at what work was done, permit it appropriately up front, inspect it, make sure that it meets code, and then issue a certificate of occupancy. It essentially happens after the fact. So that is how it gets corrected. Sometimes work has to be removed and redone, and that is how it gets corrected. I mean, sometimes people do things without pulling permits, and we don't find out about it until after the fact, which seems to be what happened in this case. And so they have to have that opportunity to go in and see it. And if there is things that have been done that they haven't seen, then they will require them to, depending upon what that work was, to potentially redo it. So that is the process.
So the residents can rest assured that by the time this is over, everything will be in compliance and they won't have anything else to worry about. And there's nothing that this council can do. There is nothing that this council can change, Suzanne, that would not allow this assisted living or whatever it's called to be occupied at 1702 Kenwood. Is that what you know to be true?
So I think we're talking about two different things. The group home facility is separate from the interior renovations. So the group home facility, yes, No, and so Suzanne, I don't want to belabor it. I just know, is there anything that this council would be able to do within the law that would stop a group home from going in to that area? I keep hearing people send me things talking about A1 and A2, and I just want to put this to bed. Is there anything that this council will be able to do to stop an assisted living facility from happening at 1702? Let's get off of the interior changes. Is there anything that the council has the legal legislative ability to do that would stop an assisted living from happening at 1702 Kenwood? That's my last question, and I hope that you can answer it in a way that is clear and definitive for everyone that will ever listen to the record. Under the current zoning code, everything has been done properly. So under the current zoning code, that group home facility is allowed in an A1 residential area. It is not a commercial use. It does not require a special license. It does not require, it's considered residential, and it's allowed in residential areas.
That is all I needed. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. Roll call, Madam Clerk. On the postponement indefinitely of Special Order 200394.
Mr. Guerra?
Sorry, my phone just cut out. Was that me?
Yes.
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 Ms. Fields?
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
No.
Mr. Winfrey?
No.
Ms. Galloway?
No.
Mr. Griggs?
Yes.
Ms. Worthing?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Vote is 5 yes, 3 no.
The vote is 5 yes, 3 no. This special order regarding the status of 1702 Kenwood is postponed indefinitely. Now I would like to move on to the next special order, but briefly I'd like to say, before we move on to that, I am going to take Ms. Brown's considered experience and advice on how we treat special orders. In the future, first of all, a president has to approve a special order being put on the agenda. So you have to go through the president for approval. And secondly, a special order will only be put on agendas one time, because that's the very definition of a special order.
Point of information.
So, moving on to Special Order 200434, requested by
President Fields.
Ms. Galloway.
Isn't it true that we can also vote as a body during changes and or additions to the agenda?
I'm not sure, Ms. Galloway. I will check on that and have an answer for you at the next meeting. Will that satisfy you?
That will.
Thank you. All right, this special order was asked by Mr. Griggs to discuss the hours regarding the sale of beer, wine, liquor, and other alcoholic beverages in the city of Flint. Mr. Griggs.
Yes, the reason for this draft ordinance is to allow the council to decide. There's about 2 or 3 options, you know. One would be close the business at 9 or 10 o'clock, totally. And the other one might be to stop alcohol sales at 9 or 10 o'clock. I think there was another option. Somebody said something to me about, I can't remember, but we need to, what I'm trying to say is we need to decide as a group what we want to do and approve or get rid of this ordinance. I mean, there's a lot of people, and I believe in all 9 boards, that really want this to happen. And we keep putting it off for 2 more weeks and 2 more weeks. I'd like to see us come to a vote on this thing and just approve this ordinance one way or the other and get into a discussion. I don't know if I can do that right now, but can I make that motion, Madam President?
Mr. Griggs, if you'll wait a moment, I have to defer to the city attorney. I need to ask her, since we're not having committees, the normal way an ordinance gets on the agenda for a first reading of an ordinance is that the committee has to vote on approving it and sending it to council. Since we're not having committees, I'm quite frankly not sure what the best methodology is for us to get a proposed ordinance, a new ordinance, put on the agenda. Ms. Wheeler, could you chime in?
Yes. Usually, like I said, what we've been doing, since we're not having the committees, is it will be moved for first reading. But the form that it's in, and I think there was still additional discussion and dialogue that needs to be had, I don't think it was ready yet to be moved. What we have right now is a draft ordinance to limit the sale of liquor from specifically liquor stores, corner stores, convenience stores, gas stations from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Monday through Saturday, 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. On Sundays, through Saturday and Sunday. So, like I said, we have that as a draft. I think there might, I don't know if there's other discussions that council wanted to have on that, but if you're ready to move forward with it, then we need to make some changes to put it into the appropriate section of the code.
Okay, well, then what I'm thinking is there is a draft ordinance, right? Normally we're not going through the normal process of how an ordinance gets on the agenda. Can we put the proposed ordinance, which is currently all written up, Mr. Griggs has worked with legal to write up an ordinance, can we put it on the next agenda for first reading, at which point we will be able to discuss postponing it or amending it or do it, whatever we need to do. But at least it's getting on the agenda. There's a methodology to get it on the agenda.
Yes, I can have it on the next agenda for the next meeting for discussion. Yes, for under ordinances for first reading. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Griggs, does that satisfy what you're trying to do?
Yes, and I think as long as it satisfies what Councilman Davis wants to too, because Councilman Davis wanted, I think, had a strong interest in this, and as long as it suits him. I remember at one time he said he wanted to put in there what would be the penalties, but the penalties are in there, or the fines and stuff like that. But I'd like to see it go to a first reading and let's get this thing going. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay, well, that is ordered without objection. Just a moment, Mr. Davis. I believe, I'll just say this, and then I'll give Mr. Davis the floor.
This is Winfrey, not Davis.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
My ears are going, Mr. Winfrey.
That's okay.
Okay. Because once this is on for first reading, then it can be postponed, it can be amended. You know, it will give us an opportunity to actually take some action one way or another. But in talking with Mr. Davis at length, okay, about his special order for today, I finally came to a greater understanding why he wanted a special order, because what he's looking to do is different than the ordinance that is on there, which is to limit the sales hours of liquor and the store openings. So I think Mr. Davis will be better able to explain what he's looking to do, which I think is a totally different ordinance to handle a different set of problems. So first Mr. Winfrey and then Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. I think as we discuss this amongst ourselves, I believe that we need to have the chief of police present when we're talking about limiting the sale of alcoholic beverages or shutting it down at a certain time. I think we really need to have the chief of police in this discussion, because his folks, they're the ones that's going to have to enforce this thing. And if we're not going to enforce it, it's not going to work anyway.
Would you like me to make that referral, Mr. Winfrey?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
It's so ordered without objection.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Excuse me, I'm having a moment here. Okay, Mr. Davis, would you like to speak?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This is the problem I see. It ain't so much the 9 o'clock sales of liquor or 2 o'clock sales, or actually 12 o'clock. It's the having the teeth and the enforcement of what's going on. The mother of the lady that got killed at BP gas station probably was online tonight because she was supposed to be. But I forgot we were just resuming from coming out of this recess. But I like to say this. It's the negligence and habitual offending so-called gas station and liquor store owners. I'm inside of a crime scene. My ward is a little different challenges than the 8th Ward, 6th, or any other wards. It was 3 more shootings since the young lady got killed up at the same gas station. So what am I saying? There's nothing to play with. All I'm saying is this. Before, like Ms. Willis stated, I think we need to postpone all first, second, and any other reading until we get some comparatives, such as Flint Township, Flushing, and see what they're really doing, because it ain't so much we want to hinder businesses making sales of liquor and we losing tax revenue, but the habitual offenders that don't secure the people or having security guard, health and safety of the residents that frequent their place, lottering, gambling, and everything else they're doing outside, drugs and all. That's the offenders. And that's in the Blight beer wrap stores. So it's a lot we want to just add to that to Mr. Grigg. He absolutely right, but it is not a blanket statement. Selling liquor or cutting it off at 5 o'clock ain't going to help nothing. But to take a change, we need to live like they live in Flushing and Cloud and other areas or locations, Flint Township. They enforce. Now, Mr. Winfrey said it right. We must get with the chief and see what we could do, not to tax our resources, which is the police department, but them stores with no security out there, them stores that allow lottering and everything else outside in their parking lot, and you can sit out there all day long on couches. We need all that to cease all over Flint, Michigan. Now, I must...
Point of information. Excuse me, Mr. Davis. I just have a point of information. Are you talking about a different ordinance for nuisance abatement? with all
What
those
I'm saying is
criteria,
this is what I'm saying. I know you said special orders only live one day or one time at a meeting. This here, we're going to have to work because this here is detrimental to this whole community. We cannot bring new businesses in this community until we get a grip on crime. This is the beginning of crime, but we can't tax our resources because we can't afford more police. But these stores that want to come in this town and go back to the suburbs at the end of the day, they ain't bringing revenue. They ain't employing nobody. The only thing they employ is people to take boxes out to the dumpster or sweep their parking lot. That ain't acceptable. So what am I saying? We got to put our heads together because the crime and the homicides is not fair to these residents that's going to get gas or going in or out to buy whatever they want to buy at a store. I'm not beating up the liquor store because, like I was saying, the one in Jerry Winfrey's ward, Dato or whatever the name of that store, they do excellent business. They store ain't wrapped. It look nice down there by University Park. Why can't all of them look like that? When I go to Flushing and Flint Township, they look nice. If it means closing a reasonable hour, but even if you open during the day, we want you to do good business inside of the city of Flint. I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the daytime. I'm not satisfied with people standing outside like Riviera Party Store. That's got to cease. So let's put our heads on it, and I want to postpone this until our next meeting because it's going to take us time to come to one. All we need is one ordinance, and then add to, find out and compare to Flint Township, what they have. Let's see what their ordinance say, because it's working. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already working. But I don't want to tax our resources, the police department, to take care of somebody's liquor store that's only hustling. I'm going to use a fleece in Flint, and they go back to the suburb. Treat us like where you live, and make your business look like it would look in a suburb. Look how raggedy these stores is on the north side. It's unacceptable. And that's what I'm saying. But Mr. Griggs, you got the right idea. But it's not straight up across the board closing and shutting down businesses. It's how you do business. Thank you for indulging, Madam Chair.
Yes. Mr. Davis, I would like to say that I think your special order was misnamed. From speaking with you and also having conversations with our city attorney, I think what you're trying to achieve comes under a different heading of ordinances for nuisance abatement. I also have an understanding that ordinances have to be one specific. So I don't think we can combine the two ordinances. What I would like to do is first hear from Ms. Wheeler on her thoughts on this, and then I would like to have a special order at the next meeting to discuss nuisance abatement, because I believe that's actually the category to achieve what you're trying to achieve. So, Ms. Wheeler, could you weigh in, please?
Madam President.
Just a moment, Mr. Griggs. I would like Ms. Wheeler to speak first.
Well, I wanted to say something before she speaks, but okay.
All right, Ms. Wheeler.
Yes, I was just going to say that, it might be like the two different things and two different solutions, perhaps. But with regards to a specific nuisance abatement, that would be more of like an action in court for something that has kind of repetitive, that is impacting the entire community or a certain particular part of the community in a negative way. Usually there are things that you have in writing, specifically like police reports and other things that are indicators that there's irregular crimes and violations that are being done at the location, and and as a result, and in addition to that, that the owner of the business is not really taking that responsibility to remediate or fix that problem. So sometimes the court gets involved and allows us to get involved and bring an action on behalf of the city, really on behalf of the people as a result of that. So that is one particular avenue that we have to address that.
Thank you. So I am requesting that special order to talk about the nuisance abatement of these problems with the liquor stores, party stores, those types of businesses that Mr. Davis is concerned about. And I'm also requesting that Chief Green be there for that discussion as well. Okay, now, Mr. Griggs, what would you like to say?
Well, I was going to say that don't forget to bring Attorney Millhouse in on that. This is the one where he's been working, underneath Miss Wheeler. And I have copied Attorney Millhouse with operating hours or restore hours from other towns, nearby towns. I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griggs. Yes, Ms. Wheeler? Ms. Wheeler?
I'd be glad to have him. Yes, I'd be glad to have him at the meeting, but I really would like him to be able to get in early, please. But I just do not want, my staff on the phone the entire meeting, because they do have other responsibilities as well. I'm sure everybody does, but if you could please keep that in mind so he's not on the phone all night. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Wheeler. All right. Now, if no one has anything to add, I'd like to move on in the agenda. It's already almost 9 o'clock in this recessed meeting since 5:30. Do we have any liquor licenses? Madam Clerk.
No, Madam President.
No liquor licenses. That brings us to introduction and first reading of ordinances. We have Ordinance 200461 to amend Chapter 35, Personnel, Article B, Working Conditions, Amendment of Section 35-89, Holidays. And I'm going to read this. An ordinance to amend the Code of the City of Flint by amending Chapter 35, Personnel, Article 5, Working Conditions by amending Section 3589, Holidays. Note, amendment adds Juneteenth to the list of holidays. Would you like to add anything, Ms. Wheeler?
No, just briefly that the council had approved a resolution several months ago for the Juneteenth holiday to be officially recognized holiday in the City of Flint. The city was able to work that into the union agreement. However, we needed to make sure we had this in the listing for the exempt city employees. So this will also cover the other employees who are not in the union.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for the first reading of Ordinance 200461?
Madam President?
Mr. Winfrey.
Yes, I move to approve 200461 for first reading.
The motion's been made. Is there support?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Davis.
I second.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Roll call, Madam Clerk. I'm sorry, Ms. Winfrey Carter, was that you?
It was Angela.
Oh, Angela, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And my apologies. And I just wanted to make sure you had the right copy because I found there were some other amendments that had already been made in the previous draft. And so I sent that to council staff this evening. I just wanted to make sure that you were approving the one that I had sent today. So I wanted to double check that, please.
Okay.
No, I did not send it. I did not send it. We have the correct copy here. All she did was say that Christmas had already been added previously, so the only change to this ordinance is Juneteenth, and I have the correct copy.
Thank you. All right, roll call.
Ms. Fields?
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway? Ms. Galloway? Mr. Griggs?
Yes.
Ms. Worthing?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Guerra?
Yes.
I'm not really sure what happened to Ms. Galloway. Your vote is 7 yes, 0 no.
7 yes, 0 no, the motion passes. So that brings us to the second reading and enactment of ordinances. Are there any?
There are none.
Okay, that brings us to discussion item 200442 brought by Mr. Mays, who's not in the meeting currently. So we'll just leave that on the agenda. It brings us to additional discussion items. Is there any new business? Is there any new business? Hearing none, that moves us to final council comments. We'll start with Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much. I'd like to say a comment. Going toward our last year before council elections, and I know we've been through a whole lot of divisive stuff with the election and everything else. But guess what? What's more important? The residents. I'm hoping this last go-round we could get stuff done for these folks that they didn't never dream possible through this body. And I'm hoping we can get it done because, after all, we was elected to get it done. Put all our differences aside, we got a job to do. And let our work speak for us more than anything. And we must, it's imperative that we work hand in hand with the administration to get it done. Ain't no big eyes and little U's. Ain't nobody following the leader or none of that other stuff people try to divide this body up with. Everybody is grown and they got their own thoughts and how we do business. People try to sound like you puppeted by a puppeteer to down you. They call you bootlickers and everything else, but that's not necessary. Grown folks don't use names, just immature people that's uneducated. So that's not necessary. Let's work like we did today to get the work done. We got a whole year to prove we are capable. Let's get it done and treat each other civil and grown like we should. And thank you for indulging, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Guerra?
I'm good.
He's good. I believe that takes us to Ms. Winfrey Carter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to bring up the, the Baggett initiative that's going on with the city, whereas your leaf yard waste bags will be collected on regular trash pickup days now through November 28th. And I think they're going to end the leaf pickup, November 28th. So I wanted the residents to know that please bag up your leaves, have them on the curb during your regular garbage collection day. And I think the last day for that is November 28th. We did get a flyer, so I'll try to post it on Facebook. And I'm sure it's on the city website also. And that's all I wanted to do was make that announcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Winfrey Carter. Mr. Winfrey.
Thank you, Madam President. To my colleague, Santino Guerra, I want to personally give my condolences to you, to your family as well, for your loss. And I've been praying for you and your family. To all of my colleagues, I think Councilman Davis said it really, really well. I'll be glad when this council get to the point, and I think that we may be very well on our way if we work at it, and that is to treat each other civilly. And sometimes when council people say certain things about other council people, we're ready to strike back. And I want to say to those of us who are more mature, and I'm hoping that all of us are, let's don't be so quick to strike at each other and so quick to strike back. And I believe that once we're able to do that, these council meetings will move along we'll treat each other with respect, because we all want the same thing, and that is to serve our constituency. And I am concerned about not just the constituency that I have in the 6th Ward, but I want to make sure that I'll do all things that I can do to help in other wards if I need it. But that council person needs to let me know that before I go dipping into that ward. So I heard you, Councilwoman Worthing, and I agree with that. Then finally, as it relates to these leaves, I talked to the director of Republic as it relates to the leave pickup. They're behind. So as we put those leaves out, and if my leave pickup day is Tuesday, they may not get it because they are so far behind. But I've been promised that they're actually going to bring in more people and more trucks, so they'll be working on Saturdays as well to catch back up. So they may not pick up your leaves on your pickup day for a few days or a few weeks, or I should say a week or so, but they are getting to it because they're going to try to bump that up, working longer hours and then certainly working on Saturdays. And Madam President, I'm sorry, congratulations for you being selected to serve as president. And it is difficult to chair a meeting when you've got so many people calling on you at one time. I'll try my best not to do that. And to everybody, stay safe, please, because this uptick and this stuff isn't playing. We don't know a whole lot about it. We know some things about it, but not everything that we need to know about it. But I'm encouraging all of my constituents and all the citizens of the city of Flint, and certainly my colleagues, stay safe. Please be safe. Thank you, Madam President.
Whoop, I'm so sorry, I had muted myself again. Thank you, Mr. Winfrey. Ms. Galloway. Are you on the line, Ms. Galloway?
It looks like she's
I don't
gone.
think she's gone. Okay, Mr. Grid.
Yeah, I'm really happy that we finally got 1702 Kenwood off of the main part of our agenda for now. I'm sure that the council person from Ward 7 and the council person from Ward 1 will continue to try to dig into Ward 8's business to include Mr. Woodson, who has only lived near Flint, not in, but near Flint, half as long as I've lived here. So I welcome those three to just keep on doing their best to get rid of me or to shut me up. I don't know what the deal is, but that's all I got to say. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Griggs. Ms. Worthing.
Yeah, I just, along the same lines as Mr. Davis, I really do hope that this year we can just get along and try to just work for the residents. It sure would be nice to have this last year out of all of our 4-year terms of us working together consistently. We don't want to be an embarrassment. We've all been guilty of getting frustrated, but let's not try to be purposeful in it. Let's try to be kind to each other. And also, COVID cases are going up quite a bit. So along those lines, please make sure that you are being safe and taking precautions. We had 7,000 cases in one day. So we definitely want to make sure that our residents are healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Worthing. Well, I would like to conclude by saying thank you to my colleagues for your support and having faith in the fact that I might be able to try to make these meetings a little more effective, a little more efficient, because that is my goal. I want every council person to be able to have the ability to ask their questions, express their concerns, to represent their residents, but I ask that everyone do it respectfully. Please be respectful of each other. Please be respectful of the residents, and please be respectful of the chair. I also ask the public speakers to do the same. Disrespect is not going to be allowed. If you want to call and speak and express your opinion, you're going to have to do it in a respectful manner. Rules are made to facilitate the meeting, not the other way around. The meeting doesn't serve the rules serve the meeting. And the purpose of the meeting is to conduct city business. So that's what I am attempting to do, and I appreciate every bit of assistance I can get. So I guess that brings us to, is there a motion for adjournment?
Madam President?
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Madam President?
Mr. Griggs?
I second that.
It's been moved and supported. I don't believe there's any discussion. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call? Beg your pardon. Roll call.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Mr. Griggs?
Yes.
Ms. Worthing?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Guerra?
Yes.
Ms. Fields?
Yes.
Vote is 7 yes, 0 no.
7 yes. We are adjourned. Thank you.